And we're live. I thought it'd be fun to have reality investigations on here and James Friday House on here to talk about a couple of things. But quickly, hello, Carla. Hello, Sabra. Hello, Pinky. Hello, Chris Williams. Hello, Pump. Hello, Sarah. Let's see. Did I? Yep. All right. Moving down. Let's see. Don't want to miss anybody. I end up missing somebody, I'm sure. Pump, Peachy, Leanne, get off my lawn. No sandwiches. Just bring your own. Let's see. Moving down. Harry William. Did I say Peachy already? I don't remember if I did or not.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I'm just gonna scrolling through here real quick. There's that Friday guy house. Jeez, old Pete's that guy.
Ban him.
Yeah. He's a jerk, ban him. He didn't do anything wrong. He just, Ozzy Cat. Let's see. Shadow Cat. Let's see. I don't know if I missed anybody or not. So far, it looks like I got everybody. Shadow Cat, that is awesome. I do appreciate that. 17 months. Why? I appreciate it. Right. Let's see, just scrolling. I made it to the bottom. I don't think I missed anybody. Holy crap.
Did you get Carla?
I did get Carla, yes.
Okay.
She was number one.
You're not doing it right if you don't take 15 minutes.
Well, I mean, oh Lord. Lord Beagle's in the house.
Uh-oh.
Well, I mean, I have 30 people watching, I'm not as cool as like Sad Eye Guy, Beardo, those guys.
You're cool.
It is what it is, but whatever. All right. So, what we want to talk about here, and I do want to make
Pinky.
I do want to make a couple of things clear. So nobody gets the wrong idea. The other day, Mason went live, and there were a few things in that live where I'm like, not cool. With that being said, we're not attacking him. We're not being mean towards him. Mason or Paranormal Engineer, great dude. Love what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a few things that were just made my head turn sideways, to be quite honest. So I guess with that, we'll get into the whole thing. James, your thoughts?
I have way too many. Where do we even start? When it comes to when somebody has a live, there has never been a single live where anybody said anything that I 100% agree with, and it would be completely unrealistic and not normal to agree with absolutely everything everybody says. And that's just the nature of it. It happens in all communities, even the scientific community. They're bickering all the time if you read research papers. It happens, but being able to work together towards finding the truth is what is really, really important. And I think we can all do that. We got to talk about things and then find out what's right.
Right. And I agree. Even us three here, I'm sure there's something that we are not going to agree on, but it doesn't matter. We're working towards the same goal, and that's what's really important. How about you, Reality? What your thoughts? Ugh, I can't speak.
Well, I've got no problem with what Mason is doing. I feel that he has a great start to his YouTube career, and I wish him luck. I really do. It's just some of the language used yesterday I do not agree with. He was, for context, and this is my summary. He was basically saying out and out that the paranormal is fake, and I'm saying that out of context. I'm just making a summary. And the other thing I disagreed with is that anybody can investigate. Anybody can investigate, but there's a lot that goes into it. There's time, there's planning, there's scheduling. If you have a team, it's making sure everybody has work off, because a lot of us, we don't full-time investigate. And I just believe that the nuance of that was left out. If he's speaking to the public, he's allowed to have an opinion. But
Exactly.
I felt like it was more than an opinion. He was basically saying, this is the way it is. And I kind of felt a little triggered by it.
Or this is the way it should be.
Correct. And I agree there is an overuse of equipment. Thank you for clarifying that, Sarah. I do believe, and even my experiment that, he critiqued, I absolutely agree. I used too much equipment, but also I used what I had. I had a heartbeat monitor. I had 3 different devices to measure different levels of EMF. I had, the only data logger that I had at the time was my this guy, my EDI Plus. That's all that I had. But I shared those files with him, and that didn't make it into the video. And I also talked a little bit more that I went back the next day and I tried to do different tests to see if I could recreate what we're getting, that EDI just going nuts. And I couldn't get it. I couldn't replicate it. And to me, that was interesting. And maybe I should have kind of pushed that more, that, hey, I did do this. But I do appreciate him, calling me out on what I could have done better. And I'll learn from that. That's what we need to do. When we get positive critiques like that, peer review, everybody should be accountable. I didn't do the best job that I could. So I can admit that. I don't want to feel that. Is my head really half cut off? I just looked at the monitor. Oops.
I was gonna say something to you, but
I'm just listening.
That as I ramble on. All right,
you're
there we
good.
go.
no, and I did a reaction video to it as well. But I understood without even being told that this is just an experiment. It was, try this experiment and then see what happens, and then basically improve upon it, the next time, or do something different the next time. So that's how I had seen it. But I've messed with not just me, but also Matt. We've messed with infrasound and stuff like that. But I'm like, the problem here is, using infrasound is you're not supposed to be able to hear it. I can hear it. I can also hear, the speakers, resonate and other sounds coming through the speaker. Like, so this isn't really going to work. We don't have the proper tools, equipment, and things like that to actually do it properly. But I'm pretty sure the neighbors who were around the Monroe house were like, "What the hell is that?" It rattled that house. Because I used a guitar amp.
Oh, and that's all I wanted out of that. I was willing to show one of my crazy. I still think it was an experiment, and maybe not have been a good experiment, but that was the first time publicly I ever showcased something, because I like to do things like that. My next experiment that I'll be doing, I'll be using an original Tesla Spirit Radio. I built one through the original schematics, and I'll also be using a Tesla coil that broadcasts music, and I'll be playing a vinyl record. So I'm going to have to talk to Friday about this so I can make sure the levels are good. But this record was actually recorded by children back in the, I think it was 60s at the school at Farrar.
Mhm.
And so I'd like to audibly play that. And then I'd like to play it through the Tesla so that it broadcasts it. And the way that it does, it kind of, it turns it into energy, basically, like literally. And you can hear it because it's like somehow plays on the ozone. Maybe Friday has done things like that. I know you're really tech savvy when it comes to audio, and I know you are too, Joe.
Yeah. There are
Yeah.
a lot of things I do want to say quickly because it's on the top of my head right now. So I want to say it so it goes away from my brain. Mason did say that he had issues with the way I do my investigations. I don't mind criticism. I love it. But the issue is that he doesn't see, and it's not just him. A lot of people don't actually see what it is I do because I don't put that out there, and not even like for my members. Now, my members, they get to see all the raw footage, everything put together. In fact, let me do this real quick so I can actually show people in chat right now, since this is open to the public. The shit that I have to go through when I'm reviewing. All right, so we have tons of camera angles, static cameras that we're holding. There's actually more than 7 clips for videos, but that'll end up being later when I do my reviews. And then I have 13 tracks of audio. So every camera, all the audio, everything is all synced up. And then I box the cameras so we can all watch everything all at once.
I like that.
And I am hard on like review. And I think my members would agree. I spent a lot of time just in one section trying to figure out if it was my son who made a sound when he moved or if the sound came from somewhere else. I'm taking audio, muting it, trying to track down the sound, figure out where it's coming from, things like that. And that also puts me in a position to where I am going to have to show part of this in my video to explain why that sound did not come from my son. Even though my son moved at the exact same time that sound happened, it didn't get picked up on our lav mics. None of the cameras that we were holding, it was actually picked up more on a camera. It's kind of hard to see, but way over here on the right top, that camera, and then I have a digital recorder on this desk. Those were the only 2 things that actually picked up that sound. I mean, when investigating, there are things that happen. We're like, holy crap, you get excited. And you may not be able to figure it out at that moment. But then going back and then reviewing footage, it's like, oh, shit, Well, at least we know what it is. And, again, I go through this with my members. They see, like, how crazy I am over certain things, trying to figure out what the hell's going on, what actually happened, and things like that. It's also being very transparent. There's no bullshit going on or anything like that. Let me close this out. Another thing that I do that people don't see is, and it doesn't apply to all locations, it just depends on the size of the location. But I'll walk around certain locations and I'll do basically an inspection kind of deal where I am looking for tape where it makes no sense where tape should be, strings, and many other things in a location that may have been left behind by others. It doesn't it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, the owner of the location is up to no good. I'm actually more worried about other investigators who were there putting out content claiming paranormal activity had happened when the reality is that it was manufactured. I found an entire spool of string at the Monroe house. Dawn and I, when we were together, we went and we tried to recreate a stroller being pushed when Omar and James the fan were there. This was during daylight. You couldn't see the string at all, and the camera. And I was live doing this. I check vents. I check to see if there's power in the entire building, part of the building, things like that. There's all kinds of stuff that I do or others do. Now, I don't do, like I said, I don't do this all the time. And there are other things that I do that I'm not even going to bring up because we have thieves in the community. And what I mean by that is
They'll
I
jack
have
your
an
idea.
I have an idea. I'm going to do it. I put it out there. Somebody else sees it. And then like a couple weeks later or whatever, they're like, oh, I did this. Nobody else done this before. And then they run with it. They take the credit for it. I've had that happen to me. I know others have had that happen to me. Now, not saying Quest Paranormal like took the idea from me or anything like that, or Paranormal Quest, I'm sorry, took the idea from me. But I used to do what they would call the alone theory, you know, with the cameras and stuff like that. That was something that I used to do. And then I started seeing other people a couple of months later doing the same, saying, oh, you know, we're going to do something new. Nobody's done this before. And I'm like, and then the person who made the video and said that made a comment on the video where I had done that. They're like, oh, that's a really cool idea. I should try that. Something like that. And then they are like, oh, hey, you know, I have this new idea. Nobody's done it before, and run with it. You know, you see Quest Paranormal doing it. And again, I'm not saying Quest Paranormal. Why do I keep? Anyways, I think it has to do with Jimmy. Anyways, but
I will cut in for 1 second. I personally never said that I was the first person to ever do an investigation with infrasound either. I don't know where that came across, but at some point, like I kept on hearing that over and over again. I kept it, Mythbusters did it, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, cool. I never said that I was the first one to try that.
Well, I always say
Mythbusters
too,
messed it up.
and I always say too, like when I see somebody doing something, I'm like, okay, this is not the first time this has been done, whatever. But I'm not like saying, oh, they're claiming nobody's ever done this before. They're the first. That I'm not claiming. But I think the lone camera theory thing that they do, I think that's great. Dawson does it, and I'm fine with that. But I'm not saying that they took that from me. I'm just, it was something that I did. Even then, I can't tell you that I was the first to do that. I know I wasn't. But it wasn't seen, as far as I knew, on YouTube. But then seeing other people, another person doing something, I came up with this idea. Look at me, I'm special, whatever. And it's like, dude, what? But I am glad to see, more people doing it. But don't take credit for something that somebody else had done before. I mean, that's not cool. But I mean, there's a whole lot more that I do that people don't see. And again, that is by design. I want people taking my ideas and then claiming credit for it. But again, I don't mind criticism. I love it. I'm fine with it, but know everything. Like, know all of the information before, like, I have an issue with when I have members who watch my stuff and actually see more than what the public, with the edited video, get to see. And I do everything I can not to misrepresent anything. I will, a lot of times people will hear me say, well, I was there and I don't know, we had some interesting things happen. I am not saying it's paranormal, a ghost, a demon. I'm not saying none of that stuff. All I'm saying is we had something interesting happen. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I don't have an answer for it. Just something interesting happened.
Yeah.
And how often does anybody hear me say a place is or is not haunted? Never. There's like a couple places I'm like, yeah, there's something going on with that place. I do think, it's haunted or whatever. But that's like a couple places. But other than that, everywhere that I've gone to, whether something interesting happens or not, I'm not saying it's haunted. It's not haunted. And then I want to quickly cover too, and it goes both ways. When somebody goes to a location for one night, spend, however many hours at a location and nothing happens, and then they say it factually, opinion is fine, but to state it factually, oh, this place is not haunted. No, you can't say that. That is something, if we're going to use science, if we're going to bring up science, scientists would not say that. They would simply say, we didn't observe any paranormal activity. They didn't say it wasn't haunted. They just said they didn't observe. They didn't experience. But then you have teams going to these locations that are known to be haunted. They're going to come out of it automatically. It is haunted because it already has reputations, and all the bells and whistles and stuff went off for them, and they can't do that either. I mean, I investigated Hales Bar Dam for 2 years plus, and I just kept investigating and looking into beliefs and stuff like that. That was a long investigation, but I still wish I could continue to do it. But we can't now. The Monroe House, I've been there so many times. We've all been involved in the latest documentary. We've all been there so many times. We understand the place. We have our opinions. We're not saying, factually, like for me, I do think that there is something demonic there. That's my opinion, based on my experiences, based on others' experiences, based on things that were captured. It's my opinion. I'm not stating it as a fact. Somebody else may go there and have a completely different experience and come out of it with, I think it's just some pissed off ghosts. And that's fine.
Sure. I like that you go to a location more than once. I don't know much about your investigation styles, Friday, but I would assume that you've also, if you did investigate someplace, you've been there multiple times, right?
I've well, my history is a little unusual. Around 2005 is whenever I started, and that was whenever TAPS was the biggest thing out there. So the guys that I was with, the team that I was with, and this is actually that tri-field meter that I keep showing, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
That's the meter we bought back then. So I've kept it all this time. But we did ghost hunting until I realized that the stuff that we were doing wasn't actually bringing us the results that we thought they were. And that's what kind of led me down the technical path here to try and figure out what's going on with the equipment. After that, the group disbanded. I did investigations for some private residents, which is why I don't have anything out there. That kind of fell through because trying to do it on your own and working at McDonald's just doesn't work. You don't get enough money to do what you got to do for all that. So life moves on. I've done pretty well nothing but study. Done a few ghost hunting here and there. Since 2010, around that area. But I've done more study on everything. But I can tell you this: whenever it comes to doing any kind of investigating like that, I'm going to have to agree with Kenny on this. Document, document, document. Write down what camera you use, what filter you use, what settings were on the camera, your ISO, aperture, shutter speed. Just for that, there's a lot of documentation documented. Who was there, all that, so that whenever you present your findings on this, and people want to say, "Well, you did this or you did that wrong," no, here it is. Look over it. Peer review this. It's right here. But coming out and saying, well, what I read from this is it's definitely haunted, or this is absolutely not haunted. We can't use absolutes. You cannot say that it's haunted or not haunted because, and the because is the big part of this. And I'll circle back around to this in just a second because I have another point to make about that. You can't say it because you cannot prove or disprove the paranormal in general. You can have a percentage of chance. Okay, it's more likely to or less likely to, but you're never going to have 100%. It's just not there, and they try to avoid it in the scientific community on most things. What was I circling back to?
McDonald's.
Being able to say
Oh my
You were
god, that was McDonald's. No.
it was the absolute saying it is haunted or is not haunted. Is the
Yeah,
point.
I mean, when somebody is saying that something is haunted or not haunted, anybody can say whatever they want. But you need to have the because. I believe this because, and it's hypothesizing. It's not a theory because a theory is backed up by tests. Okay, a theory has actual test results to back up the idea.
Right.
But a hypothesis, okay, I believe this because. Always bring that because with you. And when you're doing any of these investigations at any of these locations, so, okay, I used this, this, and this, and the result was XYZ. So my belief is this because, and that's how that needs to be presented. And in that way, if anybody wants to critique it, well, they have all the information you presented there. The sites that are mostly getting the image out there that everything's fake and messed up is the big channels that do it for the entertainment, because they don't have a because. They have a little device that is making sounds and putting out lights and stuff or whatever based on a trigger, when the sensors themselves actually have a gradient of what it's detecting, if that makes any sense. It's like a okay. Most devices use, you probably can't even see this on here. That is a motion detecting module. It's a PIR. And that little white part on the front is actually a Fresnel lens. But it's that. That is an infrared detector. Okay. And that picks up body heat. Your body right now is emitting light in the infrared range, which is way lower than what remotes use or security cameras use. It's lower. It's closer to the microwave range. But that's what this picks up. And thermal cameras do the same thing. It's almost the same kind of sensor, but it has a gradient. It has, it picks up a little bit of the temperature or a high amount of the temperature. These little knobs on the side, those are called potentiometers. One adjusts the sensitivity of the trigger, the other adjusts the duration that the trigger stays on. So you could ultimately build a motion detector device with this module. Take these off, put some surface or some panel mounts where you can adjust it on your box, and there you go. You have a motion detector. It's only going to be picking up heat, but it's going to have a trigger. It's going to have a threshold. So if you're looking at the output of this device on a chart, you're going to have an up and down or whatnot. but then you're going to have your threshold. And when it passes that threshold, it sets it off. But what's it doing above and below? No devices tell you any of that. So you really don't know everything that's going on in the environment.
Right. That's something that I've been saying for a long time. You know, a device goes off. Well, that's great, but it doesn't tell me anything. It's just going off. There's no data coming from it. Just nothing.
Exactly.
So now it's open for interpretation. And guess where that interpretation usually ends up leading? It's a ghost.
Depending on who you ask.
What are your guys' thoughts on repetition? Say in one session for an investigation, you were using one of these devices, whether it's a REM pod or a music box, I'll let you choose. What if you believe that you were talking to a spirit and your interaction was causing that piece of equipment to go off, and it is repetition over and over and over again, it was happening? What would be any other cause? Or I guess, let me ask a better question. What would be somewhat validation to say that that potentially could be paranormal? If that music box went off 7 times in a row, it was quiet the whole entire time, but after you asked a question, that device interacted and went off.
So for me, at the very least, because I have seen it where people have, used different, devices and stuff, and they ask a question and it seems like that device is going off almost immediately after each question. It very well just could be a coincidence. There may be something going on, either inside the location or outside of the location that could be triggering whichever device. So for me, I think what would make that a little more interesting is a EVP. So if I'm asking a question, hey, if you're here, let us know. Can you set this off? Can you say something? Just ask questions. See if you can get an EVP. Now, so far, I have seen devices go off, like I said, when it seems like you're interacting with something, but I've never got an EVP. It's like, it's quiet other than the people asking the questions and the device going off. So, coincidence can just go on and on and on and on and on. Validating that, at the very least, for me to be interested would take an EVP or two.
Okay. I appreciate that answer. My next question would be, how can we have a set standard outside of the Skeptical Society? I agree with Dawson. Outside of Kenny's society and the one in the UK, they seem to be the only ones that are kind of setting the standard for proof. How can we, as a separate entity, or even combining different people, Kenny, you guys, Dawson, anybody you want to throw at it, like, how could we properly police each other without attacking each other? Because some of the debunks, they get a little nasty and they become character attacks versus actual debunks, in my opinion.
I actually have a lot of thoughts on that. And this actually borrows from the scientific community. You have an idea, you collect your data, you do your tests, and on the tests, document everything. You got to write it down. You got to, okay, I use this with this, with this, with this, with this time. Time stamping is important. Who was there? Just depending upon what you do, document everything you can. Then you put it somewhere where it's publicly available for peer review. And people who know about certain facets or an overall subject of your test and your results can critique it, and you'll have to be able to answer certain questions like, okay, you documented this, but this part over here, what was that? And you be able to fill in the blanks. And then after everybody has reviewed it, well, you have to draw your conclusion from that. But if everything is consistent, that let's come up with a hypothetical situation. One of the weirdest things that ever happened to me was one day I came in from work. I lived alone at the time. I was doing air conditioning, so I was understandably burned and hot. Went in to get a bath, nice cold water. I'm laying back relaxing, and all of a sudden, my sink turns on, both knobs, both handles. I have no explanation for that. I don't know what caused it. Can I say it's paranormal? No, I can't. But I also can't say it was water pressure because water pressure doesn't just physically turn the knobs. So if I documented everything, here's the temperature, humidity, time of day, solar flare, what slippers were beside the bed. Just document everything and put that out there for peer review. I would have plumbers, maybe somebody who's into physics or something like that, or just people that understand the situation, reviewing it and giving their opinion. That would be the stand. That's where we would have to start, basically. And once we got there, then we would be weeding out the people who are absolutely faking stuff. Can they fake their data and put it up there? I bet your sweet ass somebody's going to.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
And you just got to watch for that stuff because they're the ones giving everything the bad name from the critics. I lost my train of thought on that, but anyway, yeah, that's my brain runs faster than my mouth.
The same problem. I do like what Hart said about the batteries. So we lived when we lived in Virginia. My kids were little, and we had some pretty weird things go on there. And a lot of people who lived in that area, these were townhouses, but a lot of the people in that area were like, yeah, there's like weird stuff that happens here, So one night going to bed, we start hearing a toy go off. My son had a little Noah's Ark toy, and it started going off. Like, what is he playing around? He's like, he should be in bed. So kid's mother, she gets up, goes to his room, and he's in bed. He's awake, but he's in bed. She's like, why are you playing around or whatever? It's like, I didn't do that. So she turns the thing over, shuts it off, then it goes off again. So she again looks, and this time she's taking the batteries out of the thing. Problem is, there were no batteries in it. No joke. And it was like impossible to get my son to sleep in his own bed. He absolutely would not sleep by himself in his own room. He would sleep with us. I don't know. That happened.
What kind of toy was it?
It was a Noah's Ark boat that's sitting on a I can't remember what it's called, but it's like it's got like waves or whatever that it's sitting on top of, and it plays a song, and it kind of lights up. If I remember correctly, it lights up. I do know that it plays a song. You can't plug it in. There's no place to plug it in at. It just runs on battery. And I'm like, I don't freaking know. I have no clue. And there's been times where like the kids, their mom, they had taken off. They wanted to go see family. I couldn't because I couldn't get the time off from work. And it sounds like my kids are playing upstairs and stuff like that. And I actually had totally forgotten the first night that they were gone, because I'm so used to them being there that I'm hearing them what sounds like them playing upstairs. I'm like, what the hell are they doing up there? So not even thinking about it. I go up there and I'm like, shit, nobody's here. And the sound was gone, but they weren't there. I heard what I heard. It was kind of weird. It was never anything scary. I know our the maintenance guy, he doesn't believe in ghosts. He thinks it's a bunch of crap.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bunch of us just kind of hanging out outside and stuff like that. And it sounds like all of a sudden furniture being dragged across our bedroom. What the hell is that? Now, my son, he was inside the house. He was like playing video games or something like that. I go into the house, seeing where he's at, and I turn and I look over at the fridge, and all I see is his little butt hanging out the fridge looking for something to eat. And I go upstairs, nothing's moved. But all of us heard what sounded like furniture being moved in our bedroom from the outside. And it was weird. Like I said, nothing scary or anything like that.
Sure.
But
Dawson's making some good points. You should throw him on a.
I mean, if he wants to join, he can. But fuck, I put up with
Yeah,
that.
I was reading that. And that's for mostly everybody else. They want to make money off everybody trying to read these papers. Some of the academics, they straight up email it to each other and just forget that altogether. So the whole paywall money thing, that's for us.
Yeah.
That's for us low life people to have to pay to read all that stuff. Not all of them are like that, but a lot of them are. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff I try to look up.
And that was something I was going to bring up. The other thing too was about like, peer review and things like that. So it was kind of mentioned something like that in his live stream. And it's like, well, I get what he's saying and I agree, but also at the same time, nobody has to. It's an option. And I'll be quite honest, nobody's really doing anything anyways, other than, oh, hey, I had this experience, guys. It was a ghost, and puts a short clip out there or a YouTube video or whatever. And that's pretty much all they're doing. I mean, all that time that I spent at Hales, I can pull it back up too. I checked different, like putting beliefs to the test, with weather, moon phases, the large body of flowing water, also limestone and stuff like that. I mean, Hales is perfect, for researching that kind of thing. And what I found was there is no correlation with paranormal activity, weather, moon phases, large body of water, all the stuff that I've already mentioned. It's it doesn't amplify anything. And I took, I made sure, okay, I'm here. Here's the moon phase. Here's the weather, the temperature, all that stuff, cloudy, sunny, all that fun stuff. Most of the time, Hales was, in any condition, quiet. There were, quite a few things that did happen at Hales that were pretty freaking interesting. But I get, the point being is that it randomly happens. It just happens out of nowhere. Either it is going to happen or it's not going to happen, or it did happen and nobody's seen it.
Sure. Can you put heart mode, her comment up on the screen so I can read it better? I guess I just have an issue with it being called pseudoscience. There's a lot of areas in the scientific field that aren't recognized because they haven't been proven. So maybe a better term, in my opinion, would be unproven claims versus just straight out calling the paranormal pseudoscience.
I think maybe what you may be getting at, and others are getting at, is the devices.
Okay.
That are being used. Not, in doing proper investigation isn't exactly pseudoscience, but it's more about using all of these like REM pods, all that crap, right? And relying on that as if it is science, you know.
Sure.
I mean, I've heard a lot of teams say, "Oh yeah, you know, we go about it in a scientific way," and they use REM pods, EMF meters. Sure, there's science behind that, but the problem is
Yeah. Do they
And
understand the science behind it?
right, and then you have to factor in all the other things that do happen that can set these devices off. I mean, I'm not telling people not to use the devices. There is a reason why people like to use those devices. We had this conversation, James, but what else are people supposed to use? You know, it's always been believed that ghosts, spirits, whatever people want to call them, they can manipulate electronics. They're going to manipulate electricity, appliances, you know, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we see why the REM pod is a thing and is used, and many other devices. And when you look at the history of the paranormal and the devices, it is important to understand the history of the devices and then look further back, because these devices are born from beliefs from way back when, you know, from spiritualism, even before spiritualism.
Mid 1800s, actually.
Yeah. And if you look at history and then you look at the belief in the paranormal, when there's some sort of advancement in technology, guess what? Now there's a new belief within the paranormal regarding whatever that technology is. So we had what the wiretapping, whatever it was called, before phones, to communicate. There was a belief that spirits, ghosts, whatever, could use that to travel or to communicate or whatever. Then we have the phone. Same thing.
Phone calls from the dead.
Electricity. Now all of a sudden, ghosts can manipulate electricity, and then you get your appliance, and on and on and on and on. Now here we are with cell phones. So devices, belief, follow technology.
They do. And the biggest reason you got to understand what's going on with your equipment is to try to understand what you're getting on your equipment. The whole idea about ghosts being able to manipulate electromagnetism and magnetism and charge are two sides of the same coin. It's the same field, but it has two different sides to it. So magnetism moves charge, charge creates magnetism. So if you've got electricity going through a wire, the electrons are moving, the electrons hold charge, electromagnetism field gets disturbed by this. Mid 1800s, you had the medium movement. The Fox sisters were real big at that time. Clark Maxwell was doing a lot of work in the electromagnetism, and a lot of the terminology from the mediums and the scientific community at the time were being intertwined. And there were a few publications, one in the UK, one in New York, I think, that was covering the spiritualist movement. And they were taking some terms from this new scientific stuff that we discovered, the electromagnetism, and they were putting it together and making their publication. Whether they did it on purpose or they misunderstood it or just thought it was the same thing, I don't know. That was a long time ago. I wasn't there. But that's where the seed was planted with this. This stuff gets documented, gets wrote down in books, people reading the same thing, a lot of assumptions made. History moves on. You get to 70s and 80s, and EMF
Spirit
meters.
Kind of where the spirit box came from. It wasn't mainstream or anything like that, but that was something that a couple of people worked on, and they got the information from a dead scientist who communicated with them. I think
Oh,
through a
God.
psychic.
Yeah.
That was that big
Yeah.
old cabinet thing, wasn't it? It was like huge.
Dawson.
What's up,
Oh.
buddy?
I didn't realize I was in already. I was still adjusting stuff.
That's what she said.
Oh, off my language.
Yeah.
Hi.
But yeah, it wasn't until the 70s that we or 80s that we could get EMF meters to actually start detecting the stuff. And a lot of people, some people were using it to detect natural stuff, natural anomalies in the environment that were not paranormal. They wanted to bring it out and prove it. But we only have so many different.
We have the same one. It is such a piece of shit, but
It is.
it does what I needed to do.
You know what I was using this for the other day? I was helping my brother-in-law get a house ready, and I had to trace a wire in the wall, and I used this because it worked better than the non-contact voltage detector. And I could trace that wire exactly where it was going. I loved it. So, but to finish answering your question, yeah, we only have so many things that we can detect with consumer-grade electronics. Electromagnetism, that covers magnetism, static charge, light, which is heat detection, regular cameras, whatever. That's all EMF. Okay, we can detect EMF. We can detect temperature differences. We can detect sound, which is vibration, infrasound, ultrasound, all of that. It's all physical, kinetic energy moving through something. We can detect this, that's fine. But you need to be able to detect the information in the signal that you're picking up. That's where devices fail big time. They say, hey, there's something happening here. Well, what's happening? I don't know. Beep.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's all we're getting from it.
That is
So
not
happening,
wrong.
though. It is beeping.
Yeah.
So it's doing its job. It's telling us it's beeping.
Yeah, I mean, it is doing its job, but it's just not telling us anything other than, hey,
Yeah.
remember you spent money on me,
Yeah,
a lot of money.
And the whole REM pod thing, I can show you this. This is a REM pod. This is the guts of the REM pod. This coil here, the whole heart of a REM pod is a little circuit called a Colpit oscillator. It's either a Colpit or a clap oscillator. They're very similar. Yeah.
So
there you
all
go.
of that is in this.
Well,
Likely
No.
not, though, because a junior Thurman is
This-
you can make a REM pod out of it, but you can do REM
Mhm.
pods in multiple different ways. It all depends on what you mean by REM pod, though. Because REM pod
Right.
isn't really the correct term for what a REM pod is. It's just that they just put it there. They put REMETDD to make it seem, and it says scientific research tool on it. But really, a REM pod,
Mhm.
all it needs to be is a couple wires for like what it does the same thing. It's just if you want it to be fancier with lights and stuff, there's multiple different iterations of it. But you can do it as simply of getting a junior theremin, hooking it up to a battery,
Yeah.
and hooking up a wire to it. But you can also do it without a junior theremin, like in the Sam and Colby Spirit Box. It does not have a junior theremin, but it's called a REM function because it is a REM function. But I guess it all depends on what you mean by REM, because it's completely different than it's honestly, it's not even really a real term.
Mine doesn't even say anything about science on it.
Yours doesn't say scientific research tool in that
No,
small
mine
line.
says paranormal research instrument.
Oh, okay.
Depends on who
So
made it.
paranormal research instrument. That's what I meant. I don't know why I thought it said scientific research.
These
What
are
I
both
built
bought
here,
from the
Joe-
same company, and only one of them says EDT on it, but they're both the exact same REM pods.
Mhm.
Basically.
Yeah.
Mine says
The
EET.
the real problem with devices, in my
Mhm.
opinion, and people are probably going to disagree with me, and that's fine. The real problem is what is advertised on the websites is not 99%, maybe not 99, maybe 85% of the time, it's not even the right information. For instance, I had this argument with Paranormal Engineer during, I think it was Joe's live stream, and I was telling him, no, that's not what this device does at all. You're completely mixing it up. Turns out he was wrong, but it wasn't his fault completely because the website copy and pasted the same description. It what seemed to be accidentally, because it seemed like there was two descriptions and they were like overlaid, and it looked like it was an accident due to some sort of coding issue. But they had an ultrasonic music box with the PIR information, but it also had the ultrasonic information as well. So it was some sort of mistake. But he said in his video, because he didn't know any better, so it wasn't his fault, but it was wrong. He said that that music box detects temperature, and it does not. But the website said it, and the websites give you all this information that just like most of it isn't true. Some of them have gotten better, and they just say this device is this, and this is what it's believed to do, which honestly I have no problem with. What I do have a problem with, I emailed that Ghost of St. Augustine, I think it's called, and I said, hey, this is wrong information, and I never checked to see if they changed it. But that's in my opinion, that's the problem, is the information in the description, because people, and honestly, people don't read the description. They see their favorite YouTuber use it, they want to use it, their favorite YouTuber describes it. I try to describe them in my videos how they are. For instance, I like to use, sorry, I'm yapping. I like to use devices
good.
that I can trigger. I like to use some that I can't trigger as well. But my main thing when I look at devices, I go, I can make this go off. So like a REM pod, my hand makes that go off. I know that. I know that that can happen for a physical human being to do it. I know that a music box, my foot, my hand, whatever, my body, for an ultrasonic specifically, I don't use the PIRs, I can make it go off. So if I can make it go off in my brain, in my belief system, if this ghost is a human, it should be able to make it go off too. Now that's where people will start to step back, but still, I like the. Anyways, I'm yapping. The descriptions
You're good.
and the websites are the problem because they don't provide all the information. They just give you this is used for this and it's believed to be this, and a lot of times that information is wrong, or they copy and paste, or the website sucks, or it's an Etsy listing and they just say as seen on Ghost Adventures, and it's like not even the same device that's seen on Ghost Adventures. It's their own creation.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you know, what's that word called when you step back and let other people talk? Digress.
I
So
completely agree with you. I'm sorry, Joe. You were going to say something?
I was just gonna get I was just gonna get back to like the whole repeatability thing here. Go ahead. I'll probably forget, but go ahead.
I think that it's very important that these websites need to start listing correct information. So either they're not designing that device by themselves and they're outsourcing it to another company and not being provided with the information. But when someone goes to debunk that piece of equipment, all they have is what it says on that website, because they're not going to necessarily listen to an investigator saying this is what it actually does. They're going to rebuttal you and say no, and they'll pull up the information from the website. And that's exactly what happened with Dawson's interaction with Mason. And when I do tours at Farrar, we have, in the beginning, I show people how a device can be manipulated. Like I'll set up a flux, I'll calibrate it. I'll say, now watch, I need to get this far from it, depending on what I have it calibrated. With a REM pod, I say, look, I have to get right here, and this is what it sets it off. But then later on, we isolate all those devices. We don't have anybody walking near them so that people at least get an opportunity to see, nope, that you just walked by that REM pod. That could have been static electricity as you're shuffling your feet going by it. Someone has a K2 in their hand. We tell them, you're chasing yourself, buddy. You see that smartwatch on your wrist? That's setting off your K2 right there. I mean, I feel some people should do a better job at explaining it, but these websites are really the culprit and basically putting false information out there.
I mean, first, like it's vague information. It seems like there's information there, but it's still vague.
Yeah,
They
they
don't.
say this is a paranormal research tool, and people go, "Ooh," and then, but it's like it's just the word. It's just the word. Sorry, Joe, I didn't mean to, but you're absolutely correct. They use the big fancy words, but they don't explain why they're big fancy words.
Gotta have the
Well,
because.
well, I mean, advertisements. It's got to stick out. It's marketing. That's what it comes down to. Marketing.
So, can I, Joe? Were you about to say something? Because I had something to add to his, but I can remember it. I can sit back and remember it.
Go ahead. 'Cause I already forgot.
Okay, sorry, my bad. I'm a piece of shit. I need to get off
Actually,
of
I
here.
didn't. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, what he said about the tours and everything, I've been saying this for a very long time, but the problem is it's hard to direct your energy there, and you can't get people on YouTube to direct their energy there. When it comes to like debunking and questioning people, hot take, I don't think the investigators are at fault most of the time. The real problem is within like these tour companies. And like he said, oh, hey, I'm showing you how to do this and that. I wish
Well,
they all would
Dawson
do
and
that.
I, along with Don, we have experience in how some of those practices giving a tour is
Well,
done.
that too,
Go ahead.
but actually, believe it or not, that's not even what I'm referring to. That too, that is a problem. But the thing is, when you go on Facebook, if you're into the paranormal, chances are you're gonna get ads for, let's say you live in West Virginia, you're gonna get ads for a public ghost hunt with these people at Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. And those people, you look at the listing, and the listing goes, like, here are the experiences, here is what happened here. And all the time is completely wrong. For instance, Joe, you might have seen this one. This happened at the Monroe House. A group, I forget who they are. I wish I could say it because it was just so false information. They said that the Monroe House was the inspiration behind The Conjuring 2 in their description for their public event that they were holding there. And luckily, the Monroe House has pretty good owners. And Eddie hopped on there. It might have been Pam. They share a Facebook. Hopped on there and said, "This is not true," and blah blah blah. These
Oh
tour
yeah.
companies do this, and they do it all over. And for instance, at Pine Lawn Manor in Illinois, the information, the history of it is extremely hard to find online unless you actually know what you're looking for and you're trying to do actual research, which I did. The only information I could find just by like looking up the history without actually, whatever, was from these tour companies. And they were saying the craziest things about like, oh, it shut down because of neglect and it shut down because of this. Well, I proved the complete opposite in my video. I actually proved that the only instances of neglect that was mentioned with that institution was they sent this guy. He was mentally handicapped. He wasn't old, but he was like mentally unfit to take care of himself. They sent him somewhere else, and he pledged to the state of Illinois that he wanted to go back to Pine Lawn Manor because he doesn't get neglected there. And so completely blew it out of the water. And these people, they do that to make the money. They are a huge problem because these people are going to them. And I saw, I think Carla said they go for the experience, not the education, which
Okay.
is
Yeah.
true.
I want to go
But
there too.
they aren't necessarily advertising that. They're advertising like, hey, this is paranormal, here's the information, and they're walking around with flashlights and setting them up, and like that's fine. People want to see that. That's fine. I don't, honestly, I don't really care that much, but the information from these tour companies is crap all the time. And there's probably a few out there that are really good, but guess what? They probably don't make any fucking money because they're not lying about it. They're not enticing people to come on the investigation because these people don't know anything. A lot of times they don't have any friends, or they got one friend and they're kind of into ghost, and they're going to these. And that's, I'm not talking shit about anybody that goes, but I'm just saying. And they go to these things because they don't want to go alone. They don't have the money to rent it out to themselves. They don't have any devices, and they just want to go talk about the ghosts and try to talk to some ghosts. And they're just getting fed bullshit for literally money. That's for money. I don't think a YouTube video is for money. Like, because you don't know. Every time you release a YouTube video, even if you're Twin Paranormal, you don't know if that video is going to do good. You don't know if it's going to make money. My best videos that have the best evidence, in my opinion, are my worst viewed videos. My most viewed video is a video where I walk around an abandoned village. Nothing happened but a stick broke, and I freaked out because I thought it was a bear. Like, I like the people that the money thing is so annoying because it's like these are the people that we should hate, but like nobody talks about them. Sorry.
No, you're
I'm
good.
passionate about the fucking tour people because not all of them. I want to say like Adelaide Haunted Horizons, they're amazing. They're one of the people that give real information and they try to educate people. So I just want to say, don't just not go to tours, but just like do your due diligence on the tours. Like Adelaide Haunted Horizons, they're great. I've talked to them about all sorts of stuff when it comes to their tours. So like I will say I was generalizing about a lot of these people in like the United States that pop up overnight with AI posters is what I'm talking about.
And you know, Carla has recently, experienced this too, where she did a video on it. But when they're doing events, people pay some pretty good money to go. And again, a lot of the people who do go to these events, they cannot afford to go off to these locations by themselves. So what happens is they go, they see the devices, they see the apps, and they think that's how it's done. And if an app goes off or if a device goes off, nobody's going to question it. None of the staff members, nobody. It went off. It's a ghost. Now imagine if we took all of that away and nothing happened. Who's going to go back? Who's going to want to pay the money to go to one of these events? Nobody, because nothing happened. So they're getting an experience, but I guess you could say a false positive experience. And some of those people may actually start a team. They may go to locations and start investigating. Guess what they're going to do? Because they learned from some event at some location about these devices, and if it blinks and makes noise, ooh, it's a ghost. They're going to buy those devices. They're going to use those devices. And there's no, like, the only education they get on devices on those events is, well, it's a REM pod. So if something gets close to it, it'll go
It's a
off.
ghost.
Yeah. Or any other device. That's it. They don't bother to debunk or educate in any other way.
Yeah, I just want to say I do kind of feel bad because I was attacking tour companies and Adelaide Haunted Horizons. I actually I feel bad because they are great and they're like the gem of like tour companies. So I just want to say don't hate all tour companies, please. All I'm saying is like do your due diligence on them and look them up. And hey, I want to go to this place, look at this tour company, look at all the other things they've done, look up that location. Are they giving you accurate information? That's what I mean. Don't just like hate tour companies, but I am saying that there is a lot, especially in the United States, because anybody can do it. You can literally just call up a haunted location. I want to do a public event, and they go, cool, because that gives them business, and you can just go, and you just bring 17 EMF meters, and that's it. That's all you need for a tour, and you can just lie. And like the people that actually have established locations that they work with, and they do like Adelaide Haunted Horizons, that's great. I'm just saying do your due diligence, and I'm not saying fuck tour companies in general. Okay.
Gonna say, man, because technically I am part of a tour company. So
Well, the whole point of that rant was actually saying
I know.
thank you for what you
Oh,
try to explain.
well, I
to them.
appreciate that.
That was like the whole point of the rant was like people need to do that, and most people don't care to do that because most people that do a tour, they don't have any affiliation with the location. They're just they call them up, they book the night, they basically book a higher price than a private investigation for that reason, and then they charge tickets for $125 a person, 70 slots, and that's it. Like
Yep.
there is a difference, and I just wanted to inform people like careful who you choose, careful, do your own, just do your own research, that kind of thing is all I
Well,
was saying. So,
absolutely.
Um,
I did one tour and that was the only tour. We didn't even go inside the locations. Like it was $80 just to walk the two different buildings, and they're like, "Oh, that's it." I was like, "What's the history?" All I got was like two sentences describing a guy lived here. He used to be a mortician. It's haunted. Here's your K2. Everybody went to the bricks, and they're like, "Ooh,
there's ghosts here. Go by the
Yeah.
fridge. The fridge is haunted.
right. So, and just to finish out something that I was talking about earlier about the way I investigate. Um, Look, I go to a location, I listen to the history, the claims. I'll look into the claims. I'll investigate. I'll check things. I'll do all the stuff that I've mentioned earlier. If I need to do historical research, I will do it. A lot of locations are very upfront about their history. It may not be 100% right all the time, but it's not enough, to make a huge impact on the investigation, except that one place. But anyways,
Are we not allowed to say it? Because I'll say it. Because it's in my video. Shameless plug, in my video tomorrow at the very end, I say it, and I call it what it is.
But I mean, the way I investigate, that's how I investigate. So if gonna like give me criticism on my the way that I investigate, then gonna have to criticize the way debunkers investigate, and many others, and the way they investigate. The difference between me and debunkers, and this isn't a slap at debunkers, I bring a hell of a lot more equipment with me. But other than that, dude, they really don't do any different than anybody else.
You're talking to the walls. The only difference is there might be a beeping light over there.
Beep.
And
thanks, Pinky."
and again, Dawn brings up a good point too, and I've said this, and I would just say it real quick, because this whole thing could be a different live stream, but YouTube paranormal does not necessarily reflect the paranormal outside of YouTube. They're very, very different. Yes, there are some similarities. Yes, there's a bunch of bullshit that goes on, drama bullshit like that do go on, but it is very different. And there are a lot of extremely smart, intelligent people out there that nobody like on YouTube has even heard of, who do great. I have worked with scientists investigating. Somebody that I used to investigate all the time with, she was a scientist, Christina. I have worked with other people somehow involved in science. Now, does that make them, the perfect investigator or anything like that? No. But point being is, it is different, very, very different. And of course, you got the shitheads out there that are using all the gear or devices, whatever. But it's different. It's very night and day. Unfortunately, though, starting to see a little bit of some shit that with certain channels on YouTube now starting to bleed into the community outside of YouTube, and I'm like, no, we can't. Like, let's not do this. This is bad.
I've seen good and bad with the bleed over, the kind of transition between outside of YouTube investigators and straight YouTube investigators.
Right.
Can anybody elaborate? Because I genuinely don't watch paranormal stuff. I don't. The research I do is based on subjects or things, and I don't necessarily I don't keep up with paranormal personalities. I don't keep up with YouTube. I don't keep up with scientists. What are you guys talking about it in general here? Or is it Just a general statement.
I'll do my best so I don't offend anybody. You're not really a good example, Dawson, because you're kind of like a hybrid, I guess I would say. But outside of YouTube, you're not trying to talk to an audience or anything. If you got like one or two people as a team, like it's just different. We'll say that the nuance, I guess. But some YouTubers are going over and doing more Paracons and things like that, and they're getting recognition outside of YouTube, and they're kind of trying to take the YouTube world over to the other. There really shouldn't be a division, but there is. It's just it's different. I guess I can't explain it as well as I thought I could. Joe tried to previously, and people got mad at him because they thought that he was saying that YouTube Paranormal are worse at doing their job than regular investigators.
They probably are.
So,
because I do talk to my camera a lot.
Fair.
When you have these big Paracons, right? The thing with Paracons is they got to make money, so they're going to bring in paranormal like TV celebrities, get them in, and then they see YouTubers who have millions of subscribers. That's money. They'll pay those YouTubers to come out there unless they decide to do it for free.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll pay that money knowing that is going to increase ticket sales. That will draw money. And that's, when I used to wrestle, that was another thing too. All right, so we're going to be getting ready to, do a wrestling thing, over in this city. Who draws? And there were times where I didn't wrestle because I didn't draw in a certain spot. And then there were times, where I was booked because I drew really well in certain spots. So, I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of the Paracons, they are cool, but it's money. It's about making money.
Yeah.
They get pretty nasty too. If people think that YouTube gets people's feelings hurt, I've been to Paracons where like they're straight up fake as hell. Like they'll be like, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you," and then they'll walk off. Oh God, they smelled like crap. And then some investigators will get invited to go to dinner, but usually, if anybody's from YouTube, it's like the TV investigators or the people who aren't on any kind of social media. They're not seen as like part of that crew. They're almost like alienated, and it's just kind of weird to see.
And a great team right here, APRF Paranormal.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. And I don't like comment on their videos or anything like that. I do watch. I don't really.
What we're trying to do.
But the thing is what else are people supposed to use, right? I mean, people say, "Well, use scientific equipment." Well, that's great, but I ain't got pockets that deep to buy, whatever scientific equipment that's needed or whatever.
Especially anything calibrated.
Even if you do, there's always going to be something to say. And I actually made a Facebook post yesterday, and I just went over a bunch of nonsense, and I said, none of it matters. I'm not the solution. You're not the solution. They're not the solution. It's fucking ghosts. We're all silly for talking about it, but it needs to be talked about. And it's like, even if you have, let's just say, like, you have this fucking thing and it detects something and it's like $25,000, right? So the reason people believed the earth was flat was because they did not understand. Look this up. The reason, I guess maybe if you just look it up, maybe AI will say something different. But in general, the reason people believed the earth was flat was because science was advancing and people were genuinely like, they didn't know what any of it meant. So they were like, this is all fucking magic and make believe. The earth is flat. and it's
And don't
still to
sail
this
west.
well, pretty much like people still to this day think the earth is flat because they don't understand the science behind it. And I don't understand the science behind why you can see something from 90 miles away when you shouldn't be able to because the curvature of the earth, but there's something to do with atmosphere and shit. I don't know why, but it doesn't matter. You start explaining all this scientific shit, this $25,000 machine that detects the thing, and it's like no one's gonna get it. Nobody
But,
outside of a handful of people will get it, and it's like it doesn't matter. Like
but
it's
even
cool for
then,
you.
right? But even then, you buy that really expensive machine, device, whatever, and it's like, well, okay, now you got to turn around and you have to buy this, $60,000, whatever.
Yeah, that detects
So
that thing.
and
Yeah.
a lot of people say that, no matter what they, and I can understand this, no matter what they do, how they do things, that bar's always raised. It's never ever good enough.
Yep.
And
Which is
a lot of
good in a
people,
lot of scenarios because like a phone could have been good in 1978. I think is when the cell phone came out, but like it can get better. But what if we just stop? So like in a certain way, it's not good enough is good because like there should always be more research on something even if you figured it out,
Mhm.
but it won't be good enough to appeal like your ego, and it won't be good enough to appeal like whatever you were saying in general. It's just it'll the goalpost will move. Okay, you have this $25,000 one, but that's kind of a cheap one.
Yeah, cynicism moves the goalposts.
um, yeah, and that can definitely, discourage people into, you know, throwing information out there, to have it, peer reviewed or whatever, because, well, you did this, but what about this? Then you need that. And then, oh, you got that. Well, now how about this? And how about that? And again,
And it depends on what you're trying to detect, what you're trying to figure out.
right.
You get your knowledge. You got to have your knowledge to go with this equipment. I mean, you can buy the most sophisticated thing in the world, but if you don't understand what it's detecting, what information it's supposed to give you, and how to get it from it, you're wasting your time and money.
Right.
That's the biggest difference right there, and that's why most people shy away from it and buy the blinky lights because they don't understand it. They're just trusting the device does, or the person that built it did, rather. And that's where we fall back on that. Uh, Me,
Right.
I'm finding out how they work, and I'm building my own.
It's probably a hell of a lot cheaper to build your own.
I
That
Oh
bet.
yeah,
depends. If
oh yeah.
you're, that probably depends, on a lot of
Mhm.
cases. I'm sure Friday can elaborate, but for instance, like, if you want to, let's just say you want to print this box for the, something that you're building, you got to have a
Mhm.
3D printer. So it's
Yeah.
like, is it maybe in the long run if you're selling them, but if you're just doing it on your own, it likely, and you're not buying in bulk, it likely isn't cheaper, which is why a lot of people go that route. But I just want to say, real quick, I was investigating with somebody. I'm going to leave them unnamed out of the conversation, and I was discussing a actual scientific like research experiment with peer review with people that know more than me, and we were discussing how that would work. And the question kept coming up, okay, but why? And I'm like, okay, why would the ball roll down the stairs? Okay, but that question, and this person was saying that question isn't enough. I'm like, how is that not enough? Wouldn't you want to know why a ball rolls down the stairs? And like, the question's not enough. No one will do it. Nobody will pay for it. I'm like, okay, what if we pay for it? What if we do this and that? Well, you need this, you need that. And it's quite honestly like a lot of science and everything comes down to what is the question? Is it enough to give a fuck? And a lot of the paranormal stuff, it is not enough for people to give a fuck, to invest in it, to actually do the experiment. So it is easier to just say this is stupid, this is wrong, instead of helping, because you have to put your money where your mouth is. And a lot of the times the questions are, okay, at this house this ball rolls down the stairs all the time. And to actually do a real test other than just I'm going to put this here and walk around and see if I can vibrate it and make it fall, they're not going to do it.
Well, what are you
So,
trying to figure out the answer for? Who is the answer for? Yourselves in your own study, or for an audience that would get bored with the explanation?
yeah.
That's
Well,
the biggest problem right there.
yeah, exactly that. And then also, I was specifically told if I want to reach out to these people, leave the paranormal out of it. And I'm like, but the paranormal is like why we're looking at why would this ball roll down the stairs? And they're
Yeah.
like, you got to leave the paranormal out of it. And I'm like, but it's a part of it. It's a huge part of it. It's
Mhm.
because that is a paranormal claim. They think it's paranormal. Okay, let's find out why. If there is no explanation, this and that, this and that. And it's like the questions are there. Who wants to actually answer them in the right way? And I feel like there's a lot of criticism towards the people who are trying with no information that are interested in these questions that can't get the help that they need. When it's like, okay, if you care that much, join in, put your resources towards it, you know?
Right. We
You
got
just got to ease into it. Like
Yeah.
you're asking physicists, you're asking scientists. You don't want to start off with, I'm trying to prove ghosts. You got to break
Yeah.
the ice first, earn the recognition. And just personally, when I talk to a lot of places that have never been investigated before, I learned very quickly you don't want to be like, hey, I want to come and hunt ghosts. Like you get to know them, you prove that you care about the history, you prove all these other things. And it's just like these scientists, you got to kind of speak their language before you pull the rug out and be like, so the real reason I'm doing this is this. So you take away making yourself sound like a crazy person, they're more likely to work with you. They may still behind your back kind of be like, yeah, this guy's an idiot, but at least they're not just going to hang up the phone. And I've personally dealt with this. I've talked to a lot of scientists and physicists in the field, and it's kind of nice because once you find somebody that is qualified to answer your questions, you get that validation for yourself. And then it's up to you to get other people to validate that as well. But even when you get that validation, it only goes to yourself until you can somehow put together a committee that will be like, okay, we had 6 physicists look into this. We had 5 astrophysicists. And I can just keep on naming off people that are qualified, which they are. But at this point, there really isn't any science to prove the paranormal, but there isn't science that disproves it currently either.
Yeah, we gotta shift it back to what we were gonna be talking about. But with science, though, there was I'm not gonna say his name, but he's a doctor. I'll just say he's got his doctorate degree, whatever. And physics. Kenny knows this person as well, and now I'm referring back again, and I hate keep doing that. Haunted Hill House. We were told that our place was scientifically proven to be haunted, and here's what this guy, said, because he watched a video of a girl fall out of the bed. He's a physicist or whatever, and he got it wrong. He claimed that it was something paranormal, that this person was yanked out of the bed. Well, the problem is that he doesn't understand cameras. That's the big problem. And this event was captured on a camera that was probably recording anywhere from 10 to maybe 15 frames per second.
I think it was 10.
And it may be. But when you're recording at a low frame rate, and the reason why it was recorded at such a low frame rate has to do with it's a security camera. So it's trying to get as much light as it possibly can. So you're kind of getting like this weird motion and ghosting, and subtle movements can seem really fast. So in this case, when the girl fell off the bed, it looked violent as hell. I mean, it literally looked like she got yanked out of the bed. I explained it to him multiple times, and then, he's like, no. Then I'm like, okay. what I did is I took a frame before she fell out of the bed and after the bed. Let's trace out exactly how she was laying in the bed. The lower half of her body was basically hanging off the bed. She had her foot on the floor. No, I mean, she had her hand on the floor like this, holding herself up. And then the bottom half of her body was pretty much off the bed. She fell off the bed. So even having a scientist come in and look at things doesn't mean you're going to get the correct answer. I'm an idiot compared to this guy, and I was able to prove no, this person did not get yanked out of the bed by a demon. She
Yeah,
fell out of the
context.
bed. Yeah, she fell out of the bed, and it just looked violent because of the frame rate that was captured. Now, for those who don't really know what I mean by frame rate, basically what I'm saying is that a camera, when it records, for example, movies are usually filmed in 24 frames per second, a little less than that, but I'm not going to get all techie about it. Normally people record in 30 frames a second, and then there's 60 frames per second. Now it can go faster than that, but those are the three main frame rates that are more commonly used. And the faster the frame rate, the smoother the motion, the smoother the video is going to look. But once you reduce that frame rate, it's not smooth. It'll start creating like a ghosting effect among
Well,
other
and
things.
lighting too. If you have bad lighting and bad frame rate, I mean, you're really just sorry.
No, go ahead.
I didn't mean to. Well, that's all I was saying. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I have
Yeah, no, that's true.
ADHD, and I just there's somebody commented something really good. Their profile was green. I can't really see them on a phone. Their
Ellie
profile picture
Fraser.
was yes. I just want to say, how can anyone claim to be an expert? Blah blah blah. You don't know what it is. I've been like saying this without saying it for a long time, and it is a hot take. People don't like it. But to tell somebody how to investigate a ghost is so stupid because we don't know what a ghost is. Some people believe they're aliens. Some people believe they're dead people. Some people
There
believe
are
they're all
people who
demons.
believe, well, there's people who, the more popular one is ghost spirits, whatever, are actually consciousness surviving death.
Yes. Then you also have the time stuff. And you also have, if you look through a telescope, you can see the Big Bang allegedly. So it's like, but that happened billions of years ago. And it's like, how does light work? Is one of this thing happening when someone looks at a telescope from another planet? You have all sorts of ideas. So it's like how you investigate doesn't like you can't tell someone how to investigate it. You can only criticize, hey, I personally, based on my beliefs, you're doing it wrong. But it's all silly because we don't know what it is. You're going off of it based on this. You're going off of it based on this. We
It's
don't
based on
even know what
belief.
it is. Yes, so
Right.
you don't know what it is. So to tell someone you're doing it wrong, you don't know that. They likely are. I likely am. You likely are. You likely are. And you likely are. We're all
But
probably doing it wrong. But the thing is to say you are doing it wrong for a fact and you need to do it differently. It's like, why is your way different or better? Because it's not a ghost. It's physics or something. We don't know that. We don't know that. Well, I guess a ghost can be physics, but you know my point. You don't know what this is. So to tell someone they're investigating wrong is just stupid, just flat out stupid because you're arguing that your way to talk to ghost is better. And it's not as smart as you think when you say it. Like, it's not. Break
I'm
it
going to be
down.
honest. We all look pretty freaking stupid standing in a room.
Yes. That's what I'm saying
Are
is
you
like
here
you're
with
saying
me?
it's better. You're saying it's better to talk to the walls this way and it's like it's not better because we don't know what it is. Once we if one day, which I highly doubt ever, we figure out what a ghost is. what the paranormal is, we're all gonna be like, oh fuck, so why did that door shut? You know?
Well, there's a distinction here that we're overlooking in this conversation. Most of what people are calling investigation is not an investigation. It is a ghost hunt. Ghost hunts do not have rules. There's no solid structure for it. It's everybody trying their own experiment. And you get your own experience from that. That's not investigating.
That is
Actual
investigating.
investigation has a structure to it because you're trying to collect data to come up with a solid answer. So there's the distinction there.
But that's not what
Um,
investigating means. And I'm not trying to argue with you, but that's
Yes,
not
he
what
is.
Oh, yes, you
investigating-
are.
But that's not what
No, you're good.
investigating means. We're taking investigating, we're mixing it with
Mhm.
like the scientific process of this task. That's not what you're investigating. You're investigating a claim. You're investigating this thing. What you're doing, let's
Right.
just say
Well, I mean, that's what
you want to use this REM pod because you think it talks to ghosts, right? I
that
personally believe they do. You are investigating that claim. You're in this room, you're investigating that. You are investigating it. And I think that word of you're not investigating is, and I'm sorry, I do not believe that to be true because that is investigating. The definition of investigating, there's a difference between you're not following the scientific process in this manner and you're not completing this task or this checkpoint is different than just saying you're not investigating because they are investigating no matter how silly it is.
um
Sorry.
I
You're
investigate.
good.
Shut up, Dawson.
Like I invest. I do. I investigate. So you have the episode of Old South Pittsburgh Hospital coming out tomorrow, Dawson. What was the one thing that I said we need to do? Take a lot of pictures because this is a claim that people are getting shadow people in a specific area. Take a lot of pictures. The other thing too, and again, we got to reel it back to what we were supposed to be talking about.
What is the live stream about?
Well, you don't know because you just like came in here. But anyways, we'll get there. But I don't have time to investigate every single claim. I have a limited amount of time. I want to be able to look at a couple of claims, and even if I find an explanation for something, that still is not the answer. It does not rule out the possibility of paranormal or a paranormal event. Basically, what I had done was found a plausible explanation and could be the more likely explanation. And yeah, kind of bringing it back when debunking, you can get a false positive from debunking. And just because you debunk something doesn't prove that something
that it didn't happen.
Right. And I think, and I see this a lot where people are like, oh, well, I can recreate it, so it's debunked. No, you just figured out a more plausible explanation as to why an event happened, which is important. And real quick, because I have this up there. Yeah, there's no experts in the field. Well, there's no expert paranormal investigators. There are experts in the field, but not paranormal investigators. So you have like experts in like photography, videography, audio engineers, and other people that can be helpful who are experts. That's their job. That's what they went to school for. Those people are in the field, but as far as an expert paranormal investigator, hell no, that does not exist. Because I'm going to be honest, nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. We're just kind of.
We need a super team, boys.
Well, in Friday, I wasn't just I apologize. I wasn't trying to crap on your point.
Oh, you're good.
So, and if you have a rebuttal for like why it is not investigating, like I'm all ears. So I just want to say I wasn't trying to crap on what you were saying. What you're saying, could have some value and everything. So I just want to say I wasn't like, hey, shut up. I was just saying because like I disagree and I believe that there's facts that support what I said, but you may have facts that disagree and prove that I'm wrong. So I just want to throw that out there that I didn't mean to like step on you and be like, shut up.
You're good
Joe,
now.
Dawson
That's
was
kind of the
like,
point of this
"Fuck this guy."
conversation, isn't it?
Yeah,
For us to respectfully have different opinions than each other
right.
Mhm.
Right.
and how to properly express our opinions.
Right.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
and I'm
so I
listening
jump
'cause I'm-
in and I just kind of, you know.
No, you're good, and I listen because I like to hear your side of it. I mean, I try to make every one of your previews because I like your content. I like the way you do it. You don't fake anything. You're honest about everything that you do. If anybody has any questions, you answer it the best way you can. So when you go to say something, I'm going to listen to you. But as far as investigating, it depends. I look at the dictionary definition of certain words. To investigate, the way I see it is, if you're investigating a claim that somebody made, yes, that's going to have some structure to it. You have to be able to show all your receipts on why you're correct. And that goes with investigating anything. Because I used to work in air conditioning. I say that a lot. And there was a whole bunch of insurance companies always involved in stuff that had to pay, for replacing this or the whole system or just a repair. I had to show why the repair had to be done. So I had to take all my readings. And there was one company, we actually had to go buy 3 pieces of equipment just to get readings so that they weren't going to try to void the warranty. So the investigation had to be down to the letter. And this is in a lot of different fields. Paranormal is one of them, because if we're trying to prove anything one way or the other, if we want proof, the investigating has to be all out. On the other side of that scale, you have ghost hunting. Well, there's no rules because you're just, you're going out to do it. Now, what a lot of people do is investigative ghost hunting. What was that noise? Let's go find out. You're investigating what's going on while you're out there, but it's not a investigation. So there's a little bit of distinction there on that, and yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, and you're right. When you're just walking to a building, you may not be necessarily investigating. It's just what you're doing at that time may be investigating. So I
Right.
think that's what you're kind of saying.
Right.
So I agree. If that's what you're saying, I completely agree. You may not be doing a 8-hour investigation, but you are doing investigations within it, likely. Some people probably don't,
Yeah.
but like you are doing investigations, and I do think personally that saying the blanket statement of like you're not investigating, and I'm not saying you, but just in general, because we all
Right.
hear it, all the time, we're all involved, is kind of like it's kind of just like a shut up, like you're not investigating.
Feels like a dismissal.
Right, and it's like, well, you are, and maybe some people are not, but I'm just saying, like, even the smallest things can be investigations. Like you said, what's that noise? Let's go find out. That's an investigation. Whether it's walking up the stairs and finding out that your camera holder that had a loose bolt fell over. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like that is an investigation.
Yeah.
So.
I've got a
And,
tripod that does that. One of
going,
these legs just falls in for no reason.
and then,
Ghost.
something that, because I'm trying to like steer it back.
You're
Something
good.
that was said with that Mason said in his live stream was that there was no reason to investigate the Conjuring house. It's been debunked and all this other stuff. Honestly, the only thing that's really been debunked was the whole Bathsheba Sherman thing.
Right.
Um,
I was
They did
confused
her
about
so
that,
dirty.
Joe, because didn't the family they never were flat out, no one proved that they made up the story, right?
They swear by it.
Well, the whole story with Bathsheba Sherman is supposedly the story is that some friends of the mother was helping her do like research or whatever on the house, and that it was these people who came up with Bathsheba Sherman, and that she was in the the Black Book of Burville, which I got from Kenny, which it's just a PDF thing. And then they told the Warrens about it, and so the Warrens just kind of ran with it. They didn't do any kind of background check. Something
That's hearsay, no?
But let me quickly bring something up if it'll.
Yeah,
Come
she
on.
was just, I believe, just a kind of an odd local person that the blame got put on.
She wasn't even odd.
Debatably
She was
even
well
odd.
respected.
Yeah,
Oh.
debatedly even odd. Like she did have children that died, so she likely was messed up as anybody would be. But that's probably if we're gonna go the like that route, it's like that's about the farthest she probably would have been. It's like just fucking a depressed woman, likely, if anything. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying she was, but I'm just saying she did have a child that died.
Now, what people also need to understand is that Ed and Lorraine Warren, they were not the first to come to the Conjuring House to investigate. I'm actually going to show something here real quick from our documentary. So you guys get to see the two guys who were at the house before them.
Okay.
And they kind of explain it. It's not super long. I don't think
That was in the
anyways.
movie though, wasn't it? Wasn't it a phone call? Like what didn't they show up and they say like, hey,
They made it sound like the family contacted the Warrens. And
Oh, okay.
I
I thought that in the movie that they did talk about the other paranormal investigators that came.
No. So I'll play this real quick, so in case people haven't actually seen the documentary and don't know who I'm talking about. What I'm
Who
talking
the
about?
fuck I am?
Yeah, you know who I am. No. So I'll go ahead and I'll play this. Sorry, guys, the screen is kind of small. It's not exactly. It's more to hear than anything else. So here we go.
A myth surrounds the Harrisville farmhouse involving Bathsheba Sherman. People claim she was a witch and a Satanist who murdered a baby with a sewing needle. Through research, however, this appears to be far from the truth.
Bathsheba Thayer Sherman Green was an actual historical person. She was a resident of Harrisville. She was a member of the Harrisville Baptist Church at the time of her life. She married Judson Sherman. They had a rather prosperous farm. And somehow, we don't know how, rumors started up about her years ago, quite a long time ago. She was accused of being a satanic witch and supposedly had killed a baby here, sacrificed it, made it look like an accident by impaling it with a sewing needle. And there's been a lot of research done on that, and there's been no actual historic evidence that ever happened. It was actually Pyro who contacted the Warrens about the situation here. And we were here first and investigated and, of course, experienced quite a bit of activity here. And we sat down at our next meeting and said, I really, we were talking about how we should call in Ed and Lorraine Warren just to see what their take was. Actually, Lorraine Warren arranged something I personally would not recommend. She recommended that they arrange a seance, which took place right in this room, right where we're sitting now.
All right, that's all I'm going to show. So
They would have loved the Estes method. The Warrens would have fucking ate the Estes method up. Lorraine would have went under. They would have ate it up. I'm just saying, they would have fucking loved the Estes method.
But to say it's not worth investigating because it's been debunked, that is ridiculous. I've had interesting things happen to me, and when I'm using the word interesting. I'm not claiming ghosts or anything like that.
It was probably ghosts, though. I'll say it.
Maybe, or demons. I don't know. But anyways, aliens, consciousness. Who knows?
Elvis.
Yeah, Elvis. Yeah. Illuminati confirmed. But just to dismiss things that people have experienced you can't be dismissive like that. Um, I know people take issue with the Warrens, and rightfully so. But it seems like just because the Warrens were involved, automatically it's bullshit. It's all just fake. But there may be some truth behind some of these things that they have investigated. You know,
Can I say it would be
go
like
ahead.
saying it would be like saying that Waverly Hills Sanatorium is fake because Twin Paranormal went there. And maybe not quite because the Warrens, make it famous and this and that, and they're usually like one or two. There's like a team that went before them, so there is a difference. But it is kind of crazy to say that, and I just want to say to Joe, saying, "Hey, why even go there? It's been debunked." Okay, so like, the real question is still there, even though the history is debunked. Okay, so why did that happen? If this person doesn't exist, or they didn't hurt anybody, or they weren't haunting the farm or whatever, why did it happen is still there, regardless of all the history or whatever. Why did this happen is still there. That's why you investigate it. you know it's why did that happen, which is exactly what you guys did, because you guys did a lot of your interviews before your visit, correct? Like before the investigation.
So that was some. It would have been nice to have been able to do that, but when we filmed that documentary, we had to do the interviews while we were there. So the the first day we interviewed a couple people, then we investigated. Then the following day we interviewed more, and then we investigated. That was our last night. But I mean, that came down to
Timing and money.
timing and when we were the first time that we were there, when we filmed the documentary, dude, COVID hit. Like the entire country shut down because
And
of that.
demonetized.
Yeah, probably whatever. No, I don't think they demonetized for saying COVID anymore. But so yeah, the timing and everything like that was insane. And once everybody was at the house, which was hilarious, is when we started getting. No, it was just before everybody got to the house. The second day is when all of us got notifications. Hey, everything is shutting down and things like that. Like, oh, great. What are we supposed to do for dinner? Well, like McDonald's drive-through was open, but
I was in Florida and I got really, really sick, like the sickest I've ever been in my life. And all of a sudden, I'm seeing on my Facebook memes, and it was like normal people when they're sick, and it's them laying in their bed. And then it was like, that country people when they're sick, and it was them on an airplane. And I was like, what is this? And because it hadn't happened yet. And I was like super sick, didn't get tested for it or anything that first time. And then on the way home from Florida, because I lived in Illinois at the time, I think it was like a 16-hour drive. That's when it all happened. And it was like, hey, there's a lockdown coming. And then I get to work and they're like, hey, there's a, blah, blah, blah. We're essential workers. And I was like, damn it.
But to sit there and say because the whole Bathsheba Sherman thing was debunked doesn't mean that the alleged experience that were had are debunked, or experiences many, many years later that others have had going there to investigate. That shouldn't take away from any location. Doesn't matter what it is. But we are talking about the Conjuring House at this point. And the other thing that was brought up too was about not caring about who owns the Conjuring House. The thing is that we should care who owns the Conjuring House.
We should care who owns any haunted location.
Because one, if other locations see, how much money people are willing to pay for the Conjuring house, and they believe that they have a location that is superior and a location that's even bigger, then you'd be like, well, if these guys over here can get, like $2,000, then so can I. And then other
Mhm.
people start raising the prices. Now, I can't.
Rolling Hill Asylums, I'll throw that out there. The charge.
Well, a lot of those locations, man, are extremely expensive. But I cannot speak completely for Jason. I've had this conversations with Jason before all of this stuff has happened. Jason was offered the home. Jen and Corey went to Jason first. Hey, do you want to buy this? Jason's like, no, I don't want anything to do with it. And he continued to say that. And when all the craziness was going on, he had continued to say it. And then Andrea made the video. And that day I actually talked to Jason, and he said it ripped his heart out because he really didn't want to have the house. But because Andrea made the plea, that was basically the motivator. And after I got off the phone with Jason, I believe I was on the phone, maybe it was text messages, whatever. A couple hours later, hey, this is what I want to do. I want the community involved. With the amount of money that's being paid to own the home, and then all the work that has to go in it, and all the things that Jason wants to do, Jason's not going to make his money back. Jason does not want to charge an arm and a leg for people to come and investigate the house.
Which also means you can't get in, which also means there's going to be complaints too. Just so everyone knows, that's one of those instances where you can never make everybody happy because it's probably going to be a lot cheaper. It's not going to be $100, I bet, but it's going to be a lot cheaper. It's going to be booked out completely. You're not going to be able to go. It's going to be like Waverly Hills likely, and that's going to be another problem.
When Jen and Corey owned it, it was $125 a person. Even if one person wanted to go and investigate, it was still $125. And that's cheap. You can't get any freaking cheaper than that, to be quite honest. You
The
could even
Ross
get
Opera House is $65 a person, and there's no minimum.
That's true. I forgot about that. Yeah,
But not with that history. With that history. You know what I mean? I'm not arguing. Right. I'm just saying that, like,
no, and
technically you're wrong.
Well, no, technically I am wrong, but still, I mean, that's freaking cheap. But we should care. But but also, Mason had made another video complaining about the price of that other location. I can't remember what the location was called. Somebody they bought that location and jacked up the price. And it's like, clearly you care who owns a location, like $500 to investigate. And then all of a sudden the price skyrocketed after the dude, what is it? Ghost Adventures USA or whatever it is, that guy.
Oh, McIntyre Villa, is he talking about that? Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Fuck those motherfuckers straight up. They have ruined so many haunted locations.
Tell us how you really feel.
Okay, so saying fuck those motherfuckers, I don't know them personally, but I will say I have experience from investigating a property before they owned it and after. I have that experience. It is a very well-known location. I love this location. And the second time, I was like so confused what was going on because somebody else booked it and invited me to go. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, where's the tour? Where's Johnny? Which is the tour guide. He's awesome. And I just gave away the location. And I go, okay, so, hey, where's the fucking axe marks in the walls? They get covered up with plaster. The walls get repainted. They're scaffolding in the building to add power, and they're trying to individually rent rooms in a 3-bedroom house where 2 of the bedrooms are connected. There's one stair. You have to go through someone else's bedroom if you got to take a piss. There's no plumbing inside. They're trying to put it in there. And I'm like, what is going on here? By the way, none of the electricity or plumbing had happened yet, but the plaster and paint and stuff did. They also weren't renting the individual rooms yet. But still, I've witnessed firsthand just a ruined location. And then I see McIntyre Villa. It was like $495, I think, to investigate the whole place. $1,900 without the filming fee. And their filming fee, if you think, I'm not going to say this one, but there's a certain place, if you think their filming fee is crazy, theirs is probably crazier. You can't go to the Lizzie Borden house and film a YouTube video and get the whole place to yourself so that there's no noise contamination and blah, 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 and film a video for less than $3,000. Like,
Ouch.
I don't complain about prices of haunted locations. If I want to go, I'm gonna go. I paid $2,000 to fly to Salem for 2 days. Like, I don't care. I will pay whatever if I want to go to a place. If I find a place interesting, I will pay whatever. The problem is $495 to $1,900 before the filming, likely about $1,000 more. You want to pay $3,000 versus $495. That is a problem because I didn't care to pay the $495. I'm not going to pay the $3,000. You know what I mean? It's like, that's why you should care who owns a haunted location. Just to bring
Right.
it back, that's why you should care, because people, they have money, they don't care, they want your money. Fuck them.
Everybody wants everybody's money. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But you know, we should care. Owners can make the biggest difference in a location. Most of the locations I go to, owners awesome, their staff awesome. They make a big difference. If you go to a location and the owners are dicks, you're not going to have a good experience. It can definitely ruin an investigation. But like, there are a lot of great owners who are trying to keep prices low. But again, what it comes back to is, oh, this guy's charging that much money to investigate that place. Well, I can charge that much or more, especially if a place doesn't have electricity or plumbing. If another place could be like, well, we got electricity, we got plumbing, I could charge more.
Yeah, there's about 4 haunted locations, all owned by the same people, that are relatively close to me that I could easily go film and not have to drive 9 hours. But I just won't do it because, like I said, I don't care about the price of haunted locations. But these places have no history. They're just, it's like, oh, this is a farmhouse. This is a bar. This is this. This is that. It's like, okay, so $600 and I can't even spend the night. And it's like, I don't care that much. There's nothing interesting for me. I like to go to places, as many of you might know if you guys watch me, I like to go to places that have a story, regardless of it's true. I went to the Vampire Hotel twice. There's likely no ghosts there.
Thank you,
Like,
J9.
what?
That's crazy. Hold on. I'm going to cut you off. 45 months. Jesus.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nice.
2 years.
Old school.
Sweet.
But yeah, I mean, I go to places all the time that have no reputation for being haunted, but I find the stories interesting and I go, maybe a ghost could be there. What is it? Because I don't know what a ghost is. Why is it there? Why is it here in this person's house and nobody died here? But this place that
Right.
has a freaking shooting and like 10 people died and it's not haunted. So like, why is it? I don't care where I go, but the price is like, sometimes it's just not appealing. I don't want to go to this place and spend $600 and I've never heard of it. No history. There is no name recognition. When like the Sally House, I think the most I've ever paid was $300, and everybody here knows the Sally House.
I'm going to quickly jump to Ed and Lorraine Warren's home and museum. We investigated it for 2 days. I took a lot of pictures. That was expensive all around. The reason why I'm bringing this up, though, again, it comes back to when I investigate what I look for. What's up, Reality? You waved.
Oh, someone was just leaving.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, you
My
said
bad.
something?
Ellie Frazier.
When people come to investigate the museum, I do see people who put devices up right next to Annabelle. These devices go off. Well, we got a heater here. We know a heater's going to put out some EMF. This
Fans do too.
Yep. This cabinet is a radio. They have it set up as a big old spirit box.
Mm-hmm.
If it's running and turned on, certain devices are going to turn on or go off.
It's not a Frank's box, is it?
Nah, it's just a big ass.
Hey, Joe, may I
radio.
ask real quick, when you investigated it, because you got in pretty early, did they have those stupid, those balls you would see in Spencer that are like, they got the lightning bolts? They're almost kind of like a Tesla
Plasma.
coil, but it
Plasma
balls.
ball.
And you
Plasma
touch them
ball.
and like the thing goes to you. Did they have those in there when you were there?
I don't remember because there was somebody else. I don't know if that person's still in chat or not, but that person went to, I'm not going to say a whole lot, but that person went to an event and it seemed like some
People
of
were
the items.
using them intentionally.
No, hold on. It seemed like they were claiming that certain items in the museum were from the Warrens when it was from somebody else's collection. But I don't know if there was I don't know if maybe there was a misunderstanding or what the deal was. But taking pictures, electrical, wires running all over the place. We can see that there's lamps going on, a lot of red lights. That is something that they can mess with people. I thought this was interesting. Spike used to kill a baby by its own mother as a sacrifice to the devil. Doesn't that sound really familiar?
Was that the woman who had the 9 or 13 children or something?
He's talking about Bathsheba.
Yeah, it sounds oddly familiar to the whole Bathsheba story. Now, most of the stuff in the museum really have nothing to do with Ed and Lorraine Warren's investigations. They were things that were either given to them, things that Ed bought, like antique stores and things like that. Ed was very much into Halloween. So a lot of the stuff that's in the museum are just things that were either given or, like I said, Ed had bought. The reason for this is the tunnel. You see that there's a line here, an electrical line, probably for the cameras.
No wonder it didn't pass code.
Again, more cabling, electrical, wires for the security cameras. This tunnel, if somebody puts a device in this tunnel or close to the tunnel, close enough anyways, devices may go off. This tunnel's a fear cave or cage.
It depends on what's running in the electrical. The more amps that is pulled on a line, the larger the electrical field is. So it, like an air conditioner or something kicks on, or a refrigerator kicks on.
These are some pretty thick wires. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
that's basic wiring though as well. And they are thick, but that's typical Romex. And usually that looked older, but modern are pretty well insulated to where you won't feel it. But I agree with your point as well.
The EMF meter told a very different story.
No, you won't feel it, is what I'm saying. Like it won't affect you.
Electrical coaxial.
We're talking what I'm talking about though is the devices and apps.
That
So you-
communication, you got a lot going on right there.
Yeah, yeah. And this could be the cause of why a lot of apps are going out. The reason why I took this picture is, red lights all over the place. That can
Spooky.
give a spooky, vibe. Wiring going across the top here.
Do you believe you had a paranormal experience there, Joe? I mean, let's just say, in your
Um,
personal opinion, which
I'm gonna say this. There were some interesting things that did happen. A lot of things we were able to look at and be like, okay, yeah, here's what's going on. Yeah, more wiring and stuff like that.
I mean, you
That thing looks
also
like it come from a cartoon. More wiring.
you also have, whenever they got famous, people would send them their
More
stuff as
wiring.
well, and not all of it, or maybe all of it, but most, not every single thing in there was from him or from a garage sale or from a case. People did send them stuff as well. They freaked out. They wanted them to investigate. They sent
Yeah,
them
that's what I was
letters.
saying.
They sent
A
this
lot
and
of the
that.
stuff
So it
was
could be
given to
haunted.
them.
And it very
And-
well, if an egregore is a
Ed
real
and Lorraine
thing,
Warren died in the home.
yeah,
So there's that. Here's me. I'm holding the EMF meter. I'm checking out this switch here. I wanted to see, how much EMF is being
Zero?
blown out, and it's almost zero. Almost. This,
Not what I
however, is a
expected.
different story. This actually hit the red in a certain spot. It went into the red. It basically pegged this EMF meter.
whoa,
Mhm.
it did what?
Yeah, the hot line under the wall, under the floor.
I'll show you. But yeah, it completely just pegged the this EMF meter. And then there you go.
Oof.
Running all across the house. So
It's gonna be those unshielded ones doing it.
you have a what looks like a junction box here too.
Mhm.
So between Ed's den, which is now a bedroom, and Ed and Lorraine Warren's room, even the bathroom, if somebody puts a certain type of device down, or even using an app, it's gonna set those things off.
So long
Well,
as
no,
that
no,
right
no,
there
no.
is properly grounded, you don't get as much EMF from it.
You're saying set a device down. I do believe you got to be specific. REM pods do not go off
I'm
to
not talking
electrical
about
outlets.
right. No, I'm not talking.
But
I'm
but you're
talking about
saying
other-
set down, and I do. And while I know what you're saying, I know it is important because people will say set a device down. I've had people say, "Was there anything in your book bag that was setting off this REM pod?" And it's like, or this music box, and it's like, no, it's ultrasonic. That book
No,
bag.
there are other devices kind of similar to like the REM pod that do pick up EMF that people do use. They have those devices in the house, but this is directly under those wires. When he started to move it forward towards the camera, it just went into the red. So, and I'm just bringing this up because, again, I don't mind criticism for my investigations, but doing so, please have all the available information.
Let me be the devil's advocate here. If those electrical lines weren't shielded, couldn't they be bad enough? Or couldn't they increase people's paranoia
No.
due
So
to
the
high
reason-
levels EMF?
The reason why we checked, one, we were hearing stories about people feeling sick, dizzy, somebody almost passing out. So I was thinking, could be EMF, but that's got to be a ton of EMF. Matt, however, said that he felt dizzy, disoriented, and stuff like that. And he's like, there has to be a lot of EMF. There has to be.
Depends on a person's susceptibility to it. And frequency has a lot to do with it as well. But that's going to be around 50, 60 hertz. So it's not that big of a deal. But if it's going to be enough to actually affect your nervous system, that needle's going to be in the red wherever you're walking around with it, no matter what. It's just going to be pegged out. And that's literally what these EMF meters are for, is to show dangerous levels. That's literally what they're built for, from the 70s to modern, is for personal safety. So if it's, needles pegged out and it's in the red, well, yeah, wherever it's at, that particular location is unsafe, doing just what you described.
So I didn't see those plasma balls in your video, but I just want to mention that while I'm with you, Joe, you should investigate that place. There's reason for it to be haunted in multiple different ways, regardless if they're frauds. There's also reason that, like, hey, maybe it's not haunted, but whatever. There's a video, Groovy Gavin. I used to have a lot of respect for Groovy Gavin when it came to investigations, because he was honest. He's, he literally calls it, he says, I'm not a ghost hunter, I'm a ghost edger, because I never actually catch the ghost. And then he started doing collabs with like Patty Negri and Overnight and everything. And then I'm like, oh, like, okay, I get it. And then he went to the Warren Museum, and he's holding an EMF meter next to a plasma ball in the video. Watch the video, guys.
How long was the video? Well, when did the video come out?
I think it was like, his videos are usually only like 20 to 30 minutes, but he's holding it.
I mean,
and I'm like,
when did the video come out? Like, do we know when he was there?
He was there after Elton owned it. It was like, he was one of the first people to get in and everything, but he's holding it, and I'm sitting in there freaking out. Or no, sorry, it wasn't an EMF meter. It was an Ovilus, which does trigger due to EMF and vibrations. That's what they claim. That's why it triggers. It does do that. It does what it claims, but they're holding it next to the plasma ball, and it's going nuts. And like, it's going nuts over here. And I'm like, yeah,
It's going, Joe.
No shit. And it's like, but they had the plasma ball there, and it reminded me completely of Haunted Hill House, which is, throwing it out there. I don't know, but they've been to Haunted Hill House a lot. They tried to buy the Haunted Hill House in cash. What? Why do you have that ball in there? Yes, sure. Let's say that they personally are doing it because they want. They think the EMF that comes out of it will feed the ghost, right? Devil's advocate here. Shut it off. What? Charge it, right? You believe it charges it, charge it. Shut it off. Take it out, whatever. But it's in there. They weren't informed. They're holding the Ovilus next to it, and they think it's going crazy because of the ghost. And that's kind of why I wanted to ask you if it was in there, because if it is, that's they either.
I'm looking for it. Oh, wait,
Question.
is this it?
What did ghosts charge on before those were invented?
Well, it was always there.
So you're saying the plasma balls are similar to, I forgot what they called them, but there was basically a couple magnets or minerals that spun around inside of the device. They used to be really common like 10 years ago.
Yeah. I'm saying devil's advocate if that's,
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. If that's what they believe, which they could, because
so far I'm not finding the plasma ball.
Because people will
through my
also use
photos.
a Jacob's ladder for that same reason. They'll charge up a room with a Jacob's ladder because it puts the electricity in the air, and the room will literally fill up. You'll get static on your arms and everything, and the whole point is like they can give them the energy to speak.
EM pump, there it is. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm
Ionizes
saying.
the room.
People do believe that.
I'm actually going to be testing that out with a Tesla coil here soon, so we'll see.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, exactly.
I know people who've tested out, like brought a Jacob's ladder to a location, and like a big fucking Jacob's ladder.
Yikes.
Like they actually almost caught a place on fire using it. I don't think anything actually happened. I'm not seeing a plasma ball. The only thing that I am seeing that's close enough to a plasma ball, I mean, it was turned on, right?
Yes, well, in that video, it was in, so the walls, there's like tables, and there was one, I believe, I watched it forever ago. When did it come? When did they start letting people in? Last February? So it was probably
Um,
around then. I believe there was a table that had artifacts, and there was like a shelf that was in the wall, and it was at the bottom shelf that was on the table, so like table level, and it was
that
just
does
there.
narrow it down. I'm not.
Actually? Oh.
I'm no sarcasm. Like,
Oh,
it
that
does
sounded like
narrow it down.
sarcasm. I was just like, okay, there's probably a lot of walls and shelves, so I get it.
Well, there is, but it does. It does narrow it down.
I believe that's where it was. Like I said, I'm just going based on my memory, but I do remember he was holding an obelisk and it was going crazy. And immediately when I saw the ball, it reminded me of the fake ass place in Texas that had them all over the place that were, and I didn't know this at the time. Here's the thing. I did not know that they would trigger those devices at the time. I had to learn it, which is also why sometimes we need to have forgiveness and try to teach people instead of just tearing them down. Even me, who at the time I was like really like, hey guys, I'm trying to, be really good and everything, and like I want to, prove the paranormal and everything. I didn't know that it did that. So like sometimes we have to have forgiveness for people, but
Yeah,
and
it's
I'll agree.
it's important for people to actually understand how the devices work, instead of, if perhaps you don't like the creator of a certain device and you say that it's garbage and you haven't used it. I don't agree with that either. People use a REM pod, they're fake. I don't agree with that.
yeah,
I know you
that's
guys have
stupid.
your opinions, but just throwing mine out there too.
Yeah, no, that doesn't make you fake. I think most people agree with that. Is that it?
I don't think that's that. I don't
What
think
is
that's
that?
it.
That looks like a trophy, like.
Yeah, that's not a plasma ball.
Yeah, that's
But
not.
but I will say it was on and it was going, and I remember specific. It wasn't by one of like those doll cases. It was like a table. I think maybe the dinosaur was by it, but I haven't seen it in forever, and I was extremely disappointed by it whenever I saw it, and they didn't realize. Or here's the thing: it's like you cannot realize and think that okay, the ghosts are using this energy, whatever. Like you can do that, right? But it's like at a certain point it's going crazy right over here. It's not going crazy right over here. What's over here? You go back, it's going crazy. Is it this ball? And then that's maybe you use an EMF meter, you grab an EMF meter and you go, oh, it's going crazy. Okay, this thing may, that's where it can be sort of like, okay, that's when you start to criticize. But I also still believe that you should try to teach, because most people, they go off of what they know, and the reason that people like Ruby Galvin
This
were
is
invited
Elton's
were to
collection.
promote. What?
This is Elton's collection.
He's probably got some cool stuff.
He's got some interesting stuff. Yeah.
Let me ask, is there an Annabelle in his collection?
All right. So there's the dinosaur.
It would be to the left of the dinosaur. Like from
No,
me looking
the left-
at the
At the left would be.
Yes, it would be over right there. It would have been behind where that red lamp is. That's towards the right. That's where it
It's that
was.
trophy thing again. Oh no, that's something
No,
different.
is that a plasma ball?
I don't think
That
so.
think it was
No.
a plasma ball.
But there was one and it was on. That's all I know. Maybe they took it out. Maybe.
Could have been on a live stream, do you think?
No, it was Groovy Gavin's video.
Oh, okay.
It was definitely, it had to have been that shelf, because that like sparked the endorphins in my brain. But
Well, thanks for trying to find it, Joe.
Yeah,
Sandra's
I don't
comment.
see it.
is that it? In the corner, that milky ball.
No.
No, not that. Behind it, in the corner.
This.
Yes.
That's like a crystal.
What is that?
I think it's like a lamp.
Okay.
I feel
Well,
like we're
either
playing
way,
Where's Waldo.
either way,
Right,
it
right.
was yeah, for real. Where's the plasma ball? But in the video, you could somebody in the chat might have went to look to basically tell us to shut the fuck up and get on with it. But um, it is it was there. I was watching it and going, "That's a plasma ball. That's what's setting it off." So if it wasn't there in your pictures, that's a good thing. But it also looks terrible for Groovy Gavin and Elton because that means Elton put it in there to promote his place. Potentially. Or he learned and said, hey, wait a second, that made the obelisk go off a bunch. That's bad for EMS,
Right.
maybe.
Oh yeah, another thing that I wanted to bring up, where Mason was like, hey, like if something happens, you immediately go to it and try to figure it out or whatever.
Mhm.
And no, because
Depends.
this comes back to repeatability as well. So if something happens, normally what happens is we don't expect it, obviously, that something is going to happen. So just an example, a chair. We'll see a chair moved, right? Usually we only catch if we're in the same place where this chair is, we don't catch when it engages. We catch like the middle, but usually the ass end of the chair moving, we'll just say. You don't immediately run to it and try to look for an explanation. If you're looking for repeatability, that's a perfect example to try to get repeatability.
Put the chair back.
No, don't even put the chair back. You wait. Just wait. See if it happens again. Like treat it like a paranormal event, right? Wait to see if it happens again. Hey, if that was you, can you do that again? You wait a little bit. And then you go ahead and check out, see what actually happened. Because if it happens again, well, now you have repeatability, but it also gives you more information to work with to potentially figure out what had actually happened. And this is science. I'm not gonna screen share again, but I have it here where it talks about if an event happens, observe it, wait, don't run to it. But his sort of his argument is, well, the environment's constantly changing and da da da. It's like the environment changed probably 100 times as that chair moved. Doesn't matter. Even turning around and looking like, hey, did that chair move? Breathing, blinking, pointing, all that shit changes the environment.
Farting.
Go ahead.
So if something happens, wait, see if it can happen again. If it doesn't happen again, now take the proper steps to try to figure out what happened. Why did this chair move?
There's a glaring problem with the repeatability thing. That idea comes from a scientific community. When you're testing something and you can repeat it over and over, get the same results, then you can say conclusively, okay, this is this.
That's insanity. But anyways,
yeah. In many cases, yeah.
Well,
but
expecting different results is insanity.
What was that reality?
I have to go. I'll be right back.
All right. Oh, that's cool.
Okay.
And this was another thing that needed to be brought up too. Is how do you go ahead
when you're testing something over and over, something physical. Let's come up with
ball falling down the stairs.
Yeah, you can test that over and over, or just test. Okay, these glasses, they're going to fall every time I let go. Test it over and over and over. There's your result. If you're trying to test something like that with a paranormal being or an entity of any kind like that, you're asking this intelligent thing to do a parlor trick over and over and over. If it's anything for like a disembodied human, they're not going to do that. You're not going to get repeatability over and over and over to prove something was paranormal. You can do that with physical, tangible things, not with something that is supposedly completely intangible. So
Well,
that's
you're also making assumptions as well on both sides of the coin. You're making
yeah,
the assumption that they can do it multiple times. You're making the assumption of what it is and that it has to do it multiple times. And
exactly.
there's also the aspect of, you were talking about the glasses falling. Now that's gravity.
Yeah.
But if
Mhm.
we're talking about most scientific studies, it is not. The threshold is not 100% repeatability. Most of the time, it's 51%
Yeah,
repeatability. So, like, let's
majority.
say, I don't want to get into this conversation, but I'm just using it as an example. A vaccine, a pill, something along medical. It does not have to work 100% to be able to say that this gets rid of your headache. It
Right.
does not. You need a certain threshold. You need this with this different thing. Repeatability has to work on both sides, which, I believe you're
Yeah.
saying. I've had people say, "Hey, your device went off to this," I think, and I say, "Well, it didn't go off to that in this other building, which was
Right.
the same night with the same whatever you call it instances. Let's just say a bat or something. Well, why didn't it go off then? Repeatability works both ways. You can't make that claim that it went
Yeah.
off because of this if it did not go off because of it there. So repeatability is super important, but it's also important to know the context of repeatability because you do not need 100% for science. Most science is not absolutes. You cannot have 100% repeatability.
Exactly.
And let's just say, I believe Joe came up with it, a chair scoots across the floor, right?
Yeah.
This chair scoots across the floor, doesn't happen again. You move it back to the same place. Let's say, hey, let's get repeatability. Move the chair again, but only scoots halfway across the floor. That won't be good enough for that. For it did not happen again. The same thing did not happen again. Sure, the chair moved, but the same thing didn't happen again. Then you're also, to go back, you're making the assumption that it can happen again. That if this was a ghost, you're making the assumption that it was a ghost, that it will do it
Mhm.
again. It will listen to you. It has to listen to you. It's the repeatability argument. I go over this all the time. I'm glad it came up. Is
Yeah.
quite frankly, if you're going to bring up the repeatability argument to me, not you, I'm just saying in general,
Right.
you better come correct because repeatability is such a blanket term to use the same
Yeah.
thing when you talk about energy. Repeatability. What are we repeating?
And
Do
and
you
there's too
have
many
the
unknowns.
yeah.
And it really is specific to a particular thing that you're trying to figure out. But you got to figure out your unknowns. And because we're dealing with something that is completely and entirely unknown, you in order to do the test, you have to make assumptions and test that assumption. So and because it's could be anything, you have an almost infinite number of tests that could be done here before you find something that might give you something uh you know tangible that you could say, okay, this is it because it's working now. So it's going to take a lot of people and a lot of time to do a lot of testing and documenting everything before we're going to have anything substantial that we can say, yes, we believe that this is true because this.
Well, and we can also say that, in other instances, they said this was a fact then. Well, it changed. And it's like science can change, and this
Mhm.
information can change. This person read it wrong.
I
That other person that peer reviewed it was wrong. And all of it could be wrong, and you can redo it in a more efficient, better way. But sorry, Joe.
I was just gonna say I love the whole thing. Science isn't wrong. It's self correcting, and it's like, well, then I'm never wrong, and I'm just self correcting.
Well, unless you don't self correct, though,
Well, there's your
devil's
next
advocate.
T-shirt, Joe.
Yep.
I'm never wrong. I'm just self-correcting it. We need
The
that on a
thing,
T-shirt.
when it comes to repeatability, somebody could say, hey, I experience, we'll just say a shadow person. And a bunch of people say they experience seeing a shadow person in a certain area. But other groups of people could say, well, they've seen the same shadow figure in a completely different part of a location. You can't do do that whole thing, repeatability, when things are happening in different places. And a lot, you can't be everywhere at one time. And again, it's so random, and I believe paranormal occurrences are extremely, really rare, anyways. But then when I looked up some things, about repeatability, I also found that there were a lot of instances where science did not need repeatability, like with ball lightning.
Swamp gas. You brought this up because of me, didn't you?
No, I didn't. But you probably have brought this up. But ball lightning is extremely rare.
It's not real.
Ball lightning is a thing, but I know what
it's real. There's no proof. I will die on this hill. I'll let you talk. Zero proof.
Anyways, but science knows what ball lightning is, and
it's not real. They don't know.
Okay,
I love you. I'm sorry. I love you. I'm sorry, but it's not real.
But there's other things out there too that extremely rare, but hey, they can get it figured out, or they have a really good idea of what it is. I mean, I feel, and I know I'm not the only one, I feel like it doesn't matter what we do. I've said this earlier. What we show, none of that stuff, it's not going to be taken seriously. The goalpost is always going to be moved. There's always going to be all these other, reason factors, blah, 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 that make it basically impossible. And it almost seems like it's done on purpose. Like, oh, these people out here, they're not scientists, so
sometimes
almost like a being blacklisted in such a way. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to listen to it. You're not a scientist. You're dumb. Go away.
Can I sorry, were you done?
I'm done. Yeah.
So real quick, I'll just say swamp gas and ball lightning is not real, and there is no evidence for it to be real. Never was. Not real. There's no video. They can't recreate it. It is not real. Swamp gas is not real. It was created on purpose to intentionally find a reason to debunk something. It is not real. You cannot prove me wrong because there is no evidence for it. I'm saying that in general, not to you. But I will, rewind a little bit. It just popped in my head what you said, that it's intentional to blacklist and to sort of discredit and this and that. When it comes to something in the paranormal,
can I stop you for 1 second? Ball lightning,
not real,
is absolutely real.
I've seen it.
If you look into it, it isn't real.
I've seen it.
I've personally seen it too.
I've worked at a power
seen
plant.
an anomaly in the atmosphere, but ball lightning, where the ball of lightning can literally travel and this and that, there is no evidence for it. And I'm so serious. If you've seen it, it could have been an atmospheric anomaly, which is in itself paranormal, by the way, outside of the normal.
A will-o-wisp or something like that, you're trying to say?
So lightning is basically plasma. Okay? That's basically what lightning is. So what people are seeing is a plasma ball. I've seen it. I worked at a power plant.
That's where I saw.
And I'm like, what?
So I think you're mixing up ball lightning. So I hear you. 100% what you saw I'm not saying you didn't
And it
see
says
that.
right here, yes, ball lightning is a real documented natural phenomena.
But it isn't though. That's the thing, is it will say that. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is I did a deep dive into swamp
That's
gas
not
one
AI
time.
either.
But I'm saying there is, if you, it will say that, and I know I'm sounding like a crazy person, but somebody can disprove me with data if they want to, but they can't. If you look into the data, the scientific studies of it, all of it is based on hearsay. I saw ball lightning, and they say it's a documented. That's the documentation. It's hearsay. It is not real. There is no evidence for it. And my point is, it probably is real, right? But there is no proof. There's no proof of it. There's not a single. Everybody has cameras on their houses. Everybody has cameras here and there. There is no proof of it. All videos of it are faked. Ball lightning. There's no proof that it exists.
But
Now, when you're
Joe,
talking about a plasma ball, now that, I guess we could call it a plasma ball. That is different than ball lightning.
I think it's the same phenomenon. I watched a power transformer explode, and it was not arcing. It separated itself, and it like went out like a firefly. It
So
was
there's
the
a
most
cause
incredible
and an
thing I've ever
effect, though.
seen.
There's a cause and an effect. It cannot happen in nature. It is not a natural phenomenon. So whenever people debunked UFOs with ball lightning, there is no naturally occurring ball lightning. There is no ball lightning. What you saw was likely some sort of
Ball lightning was
cause
an
and effect
excuse.
instance.
Whereas
Yes,
swamp
but
gas
there is
was
no
just made up.
naturally occurring. So I guess I should have specified, because I am wrong. There is no naturally occurring ball lightning proof.
But
While
what about earthquakes causing lightning and stuff like that? That's an atmospheric explosion,
know.
basically.
I don't know anything about that, so I can't. I can't like
Okay.
argue or agree. So I don't know anything about that. I just specifically, I don't know anything about anything, but I know a lot about a little.
Fair.
And
That's
so,
us all.
but when it comes to like swamp gas and ball lightning, I'm super passionate about it because nobody can like disprove that. And swamp gas quite literally was created. It was created on purpose to discredit by people who wrote reports that had scientists peer review them and sign them and submit them. And there is no proof that it exists. It actually was a lie.
But
And
isn't swamp gas? Couldn't you argue that that's methane pockets, like how they use to explain
that's-
what happens in the Bermuda
Well, there were
Triangle?
that's what they say. They say it is methane. They say it's gas. They say it's methane gas, but there is no proof of it. It does not exist. It never existed. The argument was literally created out of thin air to debunk, and then people went, "Yeah, plausible," and like that's where it snowballed and where everybody thinks that it's a real thing, but there isn't. If you look up any data, any study, and actually review the data and look at the stuff and talk to people that know what they're talking about, they're either going to have to lie to you and say this is this because of this, but you have to be literate enough to understand it. And I know anybody in the comments is probably fucking roasting me right now, but I'm just saying it is not real. Like, it isn't. I've had this discussion, this argument with people that do know it isn't. Like, it does not exist.
In order for methane to glow, you need a spark, and it'll just ignite for a second. Whereas
that,
what
yeah.
people are seeing are glowing balls of light that are lasting far longer than a second. I know this because we used to go to a place where there was a lot of methane gas in the ground, and we'd like take sticks, jab it into the ground or even in the water, and then we would remove the stick and take our lighter, and it'd just go poof.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, swamp gas isn't real. Oh, but sorry, I want to. If somebody has something more important, but I was just gonna say, does anybody?
I think Joe does.
No, I'm just trying to wondering what's next on our list. But go ahead.
I was going to say that does remind me of something else. You're talking about not being able to prove it or disprove it. It reminds me of a thought experiment. It's called Last Thursdayism. And it's the idea that the universe, you, me, all of our thoughts, all of our memories, and all of our history popped into existence last Thursday, and you cannot disprove it.
I've never heard that, and I love it. I'm gonna look up people's ideas about that because that sounds really interesting. Because it's like, yeah, I think I remember last Wednesday, but is it actually last Wednesday?
That memory popped in last Thursday.
Right. So that's actually I actually really enjoy that.
That's a
But
mind fuck.
yeah, no, it is.
It is.
That's amazing. No, I actually really enjoy that. So with hearsay, I'll try to make it quick. I know that I never do, but I'll try to make it quick. When it comes to the Conjuring house and stuff, a lot of the debunks are based on, oh, well, they had a dog named this and this person said this, and that is what they use to debunk the story. Now there is real debunks, like Bathsheba was not a witch. There's no evidence for that. She did not die in this way and that way, and she did not kill this person in this way and that way. But I will say when it comes to the paranormal specifically, people will discredit and debunk off of hearsay that they agree with because this person claims to know them and claim to experience this and there is no evidence for it, but because it supports their argument, and let me say, before anybody gets their panties in a bunch, in a twist, or whatever the saying is, we do it too as paranormal investigators. We talk to people that say they had this experience of this shadow person or this possession or whatever it is, and we agree with it because we think that it happened and this and that. We both do it. The problem is like even with a lot of the debunks and the whatever, a lot of it is hearsay and it would not support or hold up in any scientific paper or any actual debunk. It is just simply this person said this and I believe them because maybe they would know, like this person would know, right? Wouldn't they? They were friends with them. It's like, yeah, but we don't know what happened. We're not involved in their life. Everything just happened Thursday.
Love it.
That's called comedic timing, my friends.
That was a pretty good segue. All right,
Yeah,
Joe,
that-
lead us.
Oh, what? James, you got more points that you wanted to bring up?
We kind of got off on a lot of subject. I do want to say a few things. I do want to clarify some things. As far as Mason goes, Mason, I know you're going to be watching this. Love your brother. We do talk a lot. I agree with pretty much everything you say. I know you don't agree with everything that I say, but that doesn't mean we don't have these discussions, and that's part of why we're even. If we weren't trying to have any kind of discussions, we wouldn't be online right now at all. None of us would be online. We wouldn't have phones, but we're here to discuss all this and try to figure it out. So, great on that. I didn't get to fully explain my project over here, but I'm going to do a video on it anyway. So you'll understand. I know you were bringing up the REM pod and questioning whether all that would fit in it. Well, the circuit's not exactly the same circuit. So, of course, physically, it's not going to fit in there. But at its core, you got a microcontroller, you have an oscillator, you have this. This is just a bigger version doing the same exact thing. But I'll explain that in my own video. That way we don't have to, because it's going to take a lot more than 10 minutes to do that. But yeah, overall, I think we covered a whole lot here.
I would like to say I didn't know this was about Mason.
It was. I mean, not.
I joined. And I'm not saying I'm not
It
just
wasn't.
being like, "Hey, throw you
No.
guys under the bus." I didn't know. You guys were talking and discussing.
What was
things,
your
and I
idea?
thought
You
it
were
was-
like, "Fuck that
Yeah.
guy. Let's roast him."
So I just kind of joined in because I thought the conversation
heard it.
was interesting, and I thought
Right.
it
No,
had something to
his
add.
name was brought up, and I just want him to know that we're not against him in any way. Mason
Right.
is a really, really good guy. He really is. Like him a whole lot.
Absolutely. But some of what he said, were
Nobody's against rebuttals. They shouldn't be, at least, if we're in this line of work.
Right. But a lot of what he said showed me, and I'll just be blunt about it, very much lack of experience. And it seems that he doesn't really have a good understanding of certain things that people do, investigators do, whatever. But Mason, he did a great job with
Mhm.
the debunks that he has done. I don't want that being taken away from him in any way, shape, or form. But I think he definitely does need to clarify some of the things he said, because some of it, maybe we're taking it out of context, just the way it was delivered.
He could assume that we know the rest of what he was thinking.
Right. But I do want to investigate with Mason. I hope he can keep up with me.
I think it'd be fun.
And I don't want people walking away from this going, "Oh man, they just shit all over Mason." No, we're just like,
I was
Wait.
generalizing. I didn't even know it was about Mason. I knew he came up a little bit in the last, since I've been here, but I didn't even know. I haven't watched this video that you guys are talking about.
I
Personally,
don't know. I got your message right here. Fuck that guy. Let's roast him. He's a piece of, he's a piece of shit.
So I don't watch debunking channels anymore. I gave up on it. I left the community in general. I'm still friends with the people, but I'm not involved in the actual community. So I actually didn't know what this was about. But I do believe that I agree with everybody's points that, we all made our arguments and we all had rebuttals. We did devil's advocate. I think everybody, this is exactly what needs to happen when it comes to this kind of stuff, because people often just get mad and just go idiot. That is a murder house, by the way. I was the first person to release a video at that house. That place holds a special place in my heart, and I'm fucking pissed off that Twin Paranormal own it now, because they have spread so many lies about it. That is a murder house that did happen. It's a great place. It really was. I had so many amazing experiences. Many of you have probably heard me tell the story about how my friend Tyler was holding an EMF meter. It's going off. No power, no plumbing, nothing in this house, right?
Is this
Doesn't
the
matter.
thing where you guys sprayed luminol or something?
Yes. So he's holding this EMF meter. It's going crazy, right? And this was on a live stream. It didn't show up on camera, but this was on a live stream. You can go watch it. I'm filming it and it's going crazy. In my brain, I'm kind of like, that's just the EMF meter, right? I watch a fucking hand holding the EMF meter. I watch a hand appear from 0% opacity to about 80% opacity. And I'm like, before I can say anything, Tyler looks at me and goes, "It feels like there's a hand on my hand." And I'm like, I fucking see it. And I'm literally getting goosebumps telling the story. That place is haunted, holds a special place in my heart. I'm very upset that Twin Paranormal bought it, but to say murder house in quotations, I just want to say those did happen. Most of the other history you probably heard from them did not. The satanic stuff, the gay stuff. Colin did some of that. The reason me and Colin did a video is because I attacked him for his claims based on the Spirit Talker app and everything inside that house, because it holds a special place in my heart. That is a murder house. It just sucks that they bought it. Sorry. We're talking about Mason.
Well, I mean,
Well, we're not talking about
Mason's-
Mason, just some ideas that were brought up in this last stream.
Oh, Mason
Right.
sparked this topic of discussion, and we kind of went all over. But for what it's worth, yeah, definitely not attacking the guy. It's just he needs a little bit more experience to start speaking on some of these topics. I kind of feel like he's repeating what other people have said without
Right.
kind of having his own experiences.
And I'll agree with that. And the way it come across was as if he has some sort of authority.
Yes.
None of us have any kind of authority in this field whatsoever.
None of us.
We are all equal.
We're all stupid and silly. Let's be real. We're trying to talk to ghosts. We're fucking stupid and silly.
Yeah. Yeah. We drive out into the middle of the nowhere and talk to walls and pay for it.
I don't.
Yeah.
Good business model. So
When you-
honestly,
when you
I
say
get why
it
these
out
people are
loud like
scamming
that.
people.
When you say it out loud like that,
See, I go out into the middle of the woods and I find all these rounded stones and I talk to them.
Okay. I mean, you're doing the same thing we're doing. It's just different location.
My rocks are shorter than your walls.
You're what?
My
Oh,
rocks
your
are
walls
shorter
are
than your
shorter.
walls.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see what Philip said?
So
though?
it's totally different.
I communicate with the voices in my head.
Okay, we need to discuss that later, Joe. I think you need to see a therapist. Did you see what Philip said, though, by the way? No, not that.
That
The
one?
ball lightning thing.
Where is it? Where is it? If it's coming from him, who cares? No, I'm kidding.
I mean, it is not a verifiable, source. But according to him, when he looked it up, there is a difference between a plasma ball and ball lightning, which is more from an artificial or transformer explosion. So,
whatever.
I rest my
You're still
case.
wrong. You're still
Ball
wrong.
lightning does not exist, and neither does swamp gas.
Well, technically, swamp gas exists if it's methane, but
No, it
it's
does not
not
exist.
glowing and shit like that.
Okay, yeah, okay. But
Unless you
it
take
wasn't the
spark to it.
Flatwoods monster.
That was just owls all wearing a trench coat, bud. We all know that.
Yep.
Yep.
3 of them stacked up. They're trying to get a movie ticket to see an R-rated movie.
Oh, Jesus.
But
I'm
I
so
enjoyed-
sorry,
I don't know,
Joe.
I enjoyed the conversation. I loved it. I love having these deep talks
Absolutely.
where we shit talk and we also bring it back to reality. And, we have the open side of discussions because it is important. And although this may not get 1 million views, fingers crossed it takes off after we end it. It's still, this stuff needs to be out there and people need to understand and be able to talk about it and not be afraid to voice your opinion, because I do think that there's a lot of people out there that are scared to leave a comment about, hey, I think this is wrong. And you should always be able to say that, and you should always be able to feel like you can say that. As long as you're not a piece of shit and attacking someone, you should be able to say that kind of stuff, talk about this kind of stuff. And if someone's rejecting you, I mean, it's just like, okay, sucks, I'm not the solution, you're not the solution, none of us are the solution. It's fucking ghost. It's silly, it's stupid, but I believe
It's
they're
all,
real.
it's all belief. What it comes down to is it's belief.
Maybe someday that will change.
And maybe.
I'm gonna be pissed if it really was aliens all this time. It might
Anything
be
else?
Loki.
Anything else that we need to cover? Because we're just over the 3-hour mark.
I
I
don't
did
know.
not
I would like
expect
to
it to go
talk
this
about how I've been feeling.
Get a therapist.
How does that make you feel?
Are we even allowed to tell you to be quiet or shut up? Because at that point, we didn't listen to your feelings and you're bringing a whole new.
You didn't. You just attacked me. Is all you did. So you rejected what I had to say. You didn't want to hear it.
Oh, Lord.
Oh God.
That's going to be a whole other live.
Yeah.
Someone is going to call us out for attacking you, Dawson.
Going over
Yep.
Dawson's mental health
Yep.
coming soon.
I
All
hope
right.
not.
Well, if that's all we got, I'm gonna end it. Plus, I gotta piss really bad.
Yeah, I have to pee too.
I got to finish
So-
my
Just so
dinner.
everybody knows.
Yeah, I gotta eat something too. Shit, it's almost 11. Holy crap! All right, let's
If
go
you
ahead.
don't
Let's
eat
go
now-
bad boy. everyone, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Guys, thanks for coming on here talking about this stuff. We should definitely do it again without
Yeah.
Dawson.
Yes, sir.
And
Fair.
all right. Anyhow, yeah. I'm gonna end it, guys. Just jump off. I'm gonna just go.
Oh, he's gonna go on without us. Whatever. See you guys
yeah,
later.
I gotta pee. Bye.
We'll see ya.
Everybody have a good night.
When the darkness makes you change.